Here we go, Racing Post Live with the Betfair Exchange. Champions Day has arrived, an end of term feel here on the panel. Let me tell you, we've got some big hitters for you. It's going to have a great afternoon ahead. Where are you playing? 6 absolute beauties. We'll be giving you some passionate views about them and the plays all the way. You'll be learning all about the exchange and get your social media comments in. Let's get that business out of the way straight away. It's hashtag RP Live. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe and like the streams. Get your comments in below. We'll read it out. We'll give you your shout outs. You're going to have plenty this afternoon. I know you are. There are some hot pots, aren't there? Will the panel be with them or against them? A lot of them look even money to me, but we will get to that. And of course, if you're watching on Twitter or whatever, hashtag RP Live. We will get all your comments in, don't worry. Myself, Dave Orton here, steering the ship again. Delighted to say, joining me back on the panel, Graeme Rodway.
Dave, how you doing?
Quiet week for you? Quiet week?
Yeah, fairly quiet. Yeah. So I had no idea that anything was going on until I got a text from you. I think it was on Saturday. And,
lively show. Lively show. How's the punting been? Is the radar?
It's not been too bad this week, actually, but traditionally this is not one of my strongest meetings.
I've been on shows with you before this year, and there's been some pivotal horses. It's going to be like that for punters today, isn't it? Or get your favourites running. Dream of Dreams, for example. You put him up at Haydock. Will you be going in again?
I do love Dream of Dreams, but it's a price thing, isn't it? What is he, around 2 to 1?
He has drifted, right? I was 13 to 8 when he opened up. It was more like 5 to 2 in basically now.
Yeah, he looks fairly short to me, I think, in quite a hot race.
Everything becomes a price. Bruce Millington back for another week. How are we?
Looking forward to it. Yeah, this is some day, isn't it? And I think there's 4 pivotal horses, really, isn't there? You've got Stradivarius and Dream of Dreams in the first 2, and then you've got Palace Pier and Magical. If those 4 go in, then you wouldn't say they never always do. I mean, we got to that Annie Power situation. But if they do, it's going to be a really, really difficult afternoon for bookmakers and great for punters. But I just think that at this time of year on this ground, I couldn't trust all 4 of
You
those.
haven't done the ACCA?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. Funny enough, I meant to work out to see what it was. I will do that because I know it will be very popular. And if that's your thing, and you think, well, look, I don't want to back Stradivarius on his own at evens, but with the other 3, I might get whatever you'll get. I quite fancy. I wouldn't put anyone off. All I'm saying is that generally history tells us that at least one ends up letting you down, doesn't it?
It's always the way like the football ACCA, isn't it? There's always one. OK, let us know. Have you done the ACCA out there today? Where's your play? Where's your lay? Get them in. Now's the time. Whew, where have we got? Who have we got from Betfair then today? He's back. Betfair's big hitter himself, all the way from Dublin. Barry's on the line. Here he is.
Good afternoon, lads. How are you all going?
Yeah, very good, Barry. We had a little chat before we came on air. What's the big lay today? What's the play? So the punters can react nice and early from Mr. Orr.
Yeah, that ACCA that Bruce alluded to there, I think it's just shy of 33 to 1 at the moment. It's working out as obviously Dream Ahead is the one that's boosting. That was 7 to 4 when we first went up in the market. It's 3 to 1 now, out to 7 to 2 in the exchange. So he's probably the weakest of the 4 favourites that that you guys have alluded to there. With Stradivarius was a little bit weak as well. Was 4 to 5 and a little shade of odds on the exchange, but odds against now. Nearly hit 6 to 4 at one stage this morning on the exchange. So punters out to get him.
I'll tell you what, Barry, when you say 33 to 1, all of a sudden you start thinking, whoa, I mean, if someone came along and said, here's a tenner, can you lay me 33 to 1 those 4? You'd be, no thank you at all. So now you say 33 to 1, and I can't believe Dream of Dreams is out to 3 to 1 even bigger. You kind of half think, do you know what? If you had a couple of quid, there's worse 33 to 1 shots.
There's a life-changing ACCA, and if you're going to do it, Champions Day is the way. We've got social come in, I believe, on the screen. Let's have a look. Who's opening the show with the socials? Here we go. Mark Smith. Hi, Mark. Good to have you back. Afternoon, chaps. If you're not exciting for the racing today, you're watching the wrong sport. Absolutely. Life-changing. How have your Champions Days gone? You mentioned at the start of the show, Bruce, before we came on, it's the 10th anniversary.
It is, yeah. Happy 10th birthday to Champions Day. Can you believe it? I remember the first one. It was a beautiful summer's day. It was it was an autumn day, but the weather was absolutely astonishing, and Frankel lit it up.
But wasn't the ground still bad that day?
The ground was bad, yeah. They're always getting this ground,
it's
unfortunately.
A moot
That's
point.
the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
but what do you do? You have to accept
2016 was the last time they had good ground.
But no one minds it. Longchamp's like this every autumn, and no one seems to mind that. So you just have to accept it. That's the way it is. You get racing on good ground, on firm ground, and you get it on soft ground.
Not like we can switch it to the all-weather, is it?
No, of course not.
Absolutely no. How have your Champions Days been, G, over the years? Is this a day that you look for? Are you just going to play in the races because you've got your favourites in it, or is it one because of the ground you approach with trepidation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that over the years it's not been too bad, but I don't remember having any huge wins on this weekend, to be honest, Dave. And yeah, the ground is always going to be an issue, especially at the straight course at Ascot. You know, you never quite know how it's riding. You know, with the straight course, you think to yourself, well, is it as soft as it looks?
Yeah.
Now, and you know the round course, we know we're dealing with soft ground because on the round course it always is softer. But on that straight course at Ascot, it might say soft, but they might not actually ride as soft as it looks.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I texted Kills at the start of the week. I said, you know, looking at the forecast, this could actually dry out Ascot, and yet they're still giving it a soft, heavy in places. Now, the heavy in places, the places where it's heavy are going to be on the round course. But as you say, we still don't know whether it's good side of soft or proper soft or, you know, it obviously is pretty bad still.
They aerated the track on the 6th of October, which means that the going stick is lower than normal. Saw Kills yesterday, he was getting a bit excited that it was as low as he'd seen it. He does that, doesn't he? He gets excited about it.
He loves the going stick. He loves the going stick reading.
But that's why they're slightly lower. But he also said that the stand side would have been quicker. But that now looks to me like it's even now. You can check that, of course, on the BHA website. It's all out there, all the going stick information.
Trushan and Alan King. Trushan, ridden by Holly Doyle. Go on, Holly! Holly's going to win this, going into the final furlong. She's kicked miles clear.
Wow.
This is an absolute one-horse race. And that horse is Trushan, 8 lengths clear of Fujera Prince, who's about to be challenged for second by Search for a Song, but there's only one in this. Trushan has won by half the track. An absolutely superb performance. And the Queen of Flat Racing, Holly Doyle, gets the job done. Well done, Holly.
Oh, absolutely. Girl power, big time. Paul Keeley, if you're looking in the members section, picked up your paper today, goes and knocks it out of the park. His argument was, guys, that he's a horse that's got more to offer, but it's the heavy ground that he loves. And looking at that, we'll get the race time for you as soon as we possibly can. That was one horse that handled the ground a hell of a lot better than the rest. And, of course, we have to talk about the favourite blowing up. This is a horse. What do they now do with Stradivarius, guys? Let's just give it a quick word about this. Next year, he's going to be a 7-year-old next year. He's not really. He's completely blown up there, Bruce, isn't he? You called it, Graeme, in the run. You saw something that I didn't quite see. Niggle, niggle, niggle.
Yeah, have they committed now already to carrying on next season?
That's what they said before he came.
Yeah, well, they're not going to get arrested if they change their mind, are they?
No.
But, the thing is, what's he going to do? He's going to earn a few quid as a jump sire. Or does he come back fresh? It might just be that he's completely stale now. He's had too much work. But the kind of Stradivarius bubble, look how invincible he looked here just 3 months ago in the Ascot Gold Cup. Yeah. And now he's crawled home in this.
Mighty
and it's his third defeat in 4 in this race now, isn't it? So that's a bit of a shame, that. But what a brilliant performance by Holly Doyle. And Alan King and Trushan. He's really, really hammered them. It was extraordinary. If you back the each ways, Search for a Song was second. I think Fujera was third, and I think Mirando might have crept into fourth, but we will confirm that.
Yeah, cheers, Bruce. He ran well for Fujera, didn't he? Did he quite get home? There was something worried about the extra 2 phones. Roger Varian wasn't. I suppose he did enough, didn't he? The other pace setters ran away. And still a horse for next year?
It was a nice performance, wasn't it? But it's such a weird result when you look at it, because obviously Strad's disappointed. And you can say that. But the second and the third are definitely the second and third best horses in the race on form. Search for a Song has come through and finished second. And Fujera Prince, who chased home Search for a Song in the Irish St Ledger, has finished a good third. Now you sit there and you say, well, Trushan's beaten them by 10 lengths.
Yeah.
How good is Trushan?
He
what sort of
rated
rating
109, okay? So that's just out of handicaps, isn't it? So they're now blown. This is the horse that they kept basically for the flat. Everyone thought he'd be a really, really good jumper. He's kept it for the flat. We're just watching the replay now as he's coming around the final bend. I suppose he's one of the last of the bridle. Mirando's shaped like a cup horse here, but he's going to be an 8-year-old next year. We can't really see that. Max Vega hasn't quite got home the way that he's raced. Spanish Mission, you'd say probably the ground if you were on that. Again, you're watching Strad there and you're thinking, that's almost Istabrack like that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That is that bad a performance, I think. Just way too bad to be true. Search for a Song doesn't look like she's loving the ground there, though she was given quite a lot to do.
Yeah, and she's virtually run almost to the pound with Fujera Prince
Fair enough.
from her run in. If you're trying to put a rating on Trushan now, I mean,
Yeah.
that is a tough job, isn't
I
it?
know.
You know, because you're sitting there, you go, well, search for songs around about, what, RPR's 115, 116.
Well, that's her official rating, 116.
Yeah, and Fujera Prince is not far off that. And, I mean, if you take that literally, you're going to have Trushan up around the Stradivarius sort of levels.
So, the bubble has burst already. Now, if you're a punter, if you're a layer and you forced Strads onto odds against, let us know. The day has begun very well for you. If, like me, you thought, look, I'm happy for him to lose and have a good go at him, and I have to say I covered a lot against him. I didn't listen to Keels. I thought he just had too much to find, this chap. Could see him running well. I couldn't see that. How are you now looking at the rest of the card? You're looking up a bit of a ladder, aren't you?
You're not worried about the fourfold hot pot acca anymore.
Of course.
I just
That
texted
33
Keels
to
and I
1's
said, well done, mate. Great bet. He goes, cheers. Much needed, but a tiny bet. He hasn't had enough on. Never mind.
He'll be more than happy that he's tipped it. He really does
this
take
is the
pride
thing
in
people don't realise, you know. Tipsters and G-Rod, you both tip for a living. And people don't understand how much you're vested in that. You know, Steve Palmer, Tom Siegel, Mark Langdon, it doesn't matter what sport it is. If you're a Racing Post tipster, believe me, the tip winning is more important than whether you win or not.
I absolutely hate it if I've backed a horse and I haven't tipped it. You know what I mean? All right, I've still won, and obviously I'm happy because from a personal perspective. But if I haven't tipped it, I feel like I've missed one.
Steve Palmer won't back a horse unless he's tipped a golfer unless he's tipped it because he's cheating the readers.
But of course, that's a bit different with golf. Where sometimes in racing you know things 10 minutes before the off that you didn't know when you were tipping the day before. So you might change your bet.
And that's the beauty of this show. We will react and we'll change, and we can go to we can adapt to the landscape that we see here. So look, Strad's gone down. Let us know what you think of that. You'll be able to see the anti-post race quotes, of course, coming in. A debrief indeed. What will Alan King be saying after that? He's got jumpers all over the country. I've napped one in the 321 at Market Raisin. Midnight's gift. That's a great boost. 321, by the way.
I know.
It's the 321. It's the Ted Rogers, didn't it? Do you ever thought we'd ever see that?
I actually really like it.
Do you?
How can you really
I really like it.
What you really like?
I really like it, yeah. Because one race finishes and the next one's starting. I hate it when you're trying to keep up with all the races. You've got one going off one way, one going off. Like I was watching yesterday, I think there was races going off one after the other. I watched a handicap chase at QIPCO and it was like the 2:15. Now it was a 3 mile handicap chase and they were like a minute off, as they often can be. And now there's no doubt about it that had the 2:23 at wherever it was been at 2:20, now they would have been just about at the second last fence while they were.
No, they would have just delayed it, wouldn't
well,
they? They would have
but then it would have gone.
go-
But then it would have gone off at 2:23 anyway. So you might as well call it the 2:23.
I agree with that. I was a little bit kind of probably a bit traditionalist about it all, but it's fine. It makes sense, doesn't it?
It's the one that does me. 4, 5 or 6 I might be all right with, but
Really?
why not just 20? Why not? Why is it? It has a minute. That's extremely precise, isn't
There
it?
might be a 2 mile, 4 furlong.
I'm being
handicap chase.
traditionalist, I guess. That's what but maybe it is. Well, geez, all over that. So
I tell you what, though,
I've had a
Dave.
big
I mean,
chat.
Holly Doyle is going to be a growing story here, isn't it? She got 5 rides today, hasn't she? Well, who else has she got today? Let's have a look. She got
Yes.
anything in the sprint?
Okay.
Because you've got Hayley Turner down the bottom with Onassis, and she's got Glenn Shiel here.
Yeah.
So, you know, if she gets on a bit of a roll, that's going to be really interesting. But
Yeah, very much so. And we'll concentrate on what's coming up next for Holly. Could this be her first domestic Group 1? Could this be it? There's a huge story there. We'll go into that in a sec. Apologies if we lost pictures there for a little bit. A few gremlins indeed are there. So hopefully we put a penny in the meter now. Listen, strange times out there, but the Wi-Fi looks to be working again. So happy days. We're back. Stradivarius. Bubble burst. Will he be back next year? Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. We will debate it live on air for you. Real-time reaction and analysis. Let's concentrate on Holly Doyle then before we look at our sprint. 155 is the next race, the Group 1 sprint. She was in the Daily Mail spread. Did you read that this week?
no, I didn't see that, but I did see a nice piece
Brilliant.
on BBC News last night. Yesterday evening.
Radio Times
that
covered
Laura
racing
Scott did.
this
It was a really
week.
good piece. It was
Yeah,
excellent.
Telegraph, Marcus Armitage did a piece on Saffie Osborne. Remarkable story, Saffie Osborne. You know,
She
team eventer.
she can win today. Don't worry about
Raising
that.
Sand. You
She
like
can
Raising
win.
Sand?
Well, I haven't tipped her because I'm so sweet on the favourite, but I'll definitely be
Got
back
everything in his
Raising
favour,
Sand.
isn't it? This is his race, and he hasn't quite had it this year. But her story is absolutely phenomenal, and Holly Doyle as well. And obviously, there was in the Daily Mail. She said what she attributes to her getting to the top, that determination is. She's made so many mistakes along the way and once got called out at Chelmsford by a leading jockey who she refused to name. Now, she came out actually quite eloquently and said, I should say that this happens a lot when you're an apprentice, but it was that day in particular where I pushed him wide on the bend. It was an odds-on shot. He got a lot of blame and I absolutely got it 2 buckets and it spurred me on to be as good as I am today.
That's a good thing, though, isn't it? It's race riding, isn't it?
Well, it is, but my point being that she's remarkably determined. Do you remember this year at Windsor when she rode that 5-timer? It was 5 different trainers. That was when she had that retainership as well, extra elusive or whatever it is, for Roger Charlton, saw off Fox Chairman in the Winter Hill Stakes at Windsor. And that night, whereas in the old days, without naming names, a lot of jockeys would still be at the bar, wouldn't they? She was in bed by 9, she's in the gym. It's just a completely different game, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is one of the few sports where women and men can compete, I think, on a level playing field. And there's no reason why Holly Doyle couldn't go on to be champion jockey. She is that good. She has been so good all season. The ride that she gave that winner, Royal Ascot, that she rode, Scarlet Dragon, that was an absolutely superb ride. I guarantee you that if Ryan Moore had given that horse that ride, that every pundit
or Spencer
would have gone absolutely nuts about it. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't, because she did get a lot of praise for that, but she rode a winner yesterday that I saw at Newcastle called Coil or something like that.
Charlie Fellows winner.
And that was held up right at the back, and she gave that a beauty. She is just so good, Holly Doyle.
Where are you on jockeys, G-Rod, with the difference between best and worst?
Well,
you've obviously, taken the
remember that your defence lawyer is here for you.
Let's see if you can butcher another key member of racing's professionals.
Well, no, I think there are quite significant differences in ability, and I think that being a jockey is an extremely difficult job. Not only keeping your weight down, but also making the right decisions at the right time, being fit enough. I think that is incredibly difficult. But let's be honest, in my lifetime, there haven't been that many outstanding jockeys.
Oh, here we go again.
Here
we go again.
I think that if you're talking about absolute outstanding, like jockeys that can make a complete difference to a horse, you're talking a very,
very, but isn't
very
that just
few,
because they're all so good at the top level? I mean, how do you actually? But how do you change how do you raise the bar significantly?
There's been a couple though, haven't there? Who? I mean, Ruby. Okay. Ruby being, I would say, Ruby being there, and the rest being there. Leicester, Piggott.
Yeah, but I mean, don't forget in the days when Leicester Piggott was preeminent, they looked like they were sitting there in armchairs, didn't they? They were straight backed, and it was a totally different game. It really was.
I think there's an awful lot of very good jockeys about, but there are very few absolutely outstanding.
All right, so say you've got a horse who's running in the Champion Stakes today, and you've got the choice of any jockey out of the ones who are riding, who's available. Who would you put up?
I would still always take Frankie first, and I've always been a Frankie follower, simply because I think that he is absolutely ice cold on the big occasion, and nothing phases him, and he obviously is what, 49, 50 now?
He's 50 in December.
Incredible, to have been doing it for that long. And I just think he's the man for the big day, and I've always been a huge fan of his.
What about you, Dave?
Marquand at the minute.
Really, number one.
If I thought that the St Ledger showcased him to the best, but I watch him on the all-weather, Bruce, on horses that run 10 times a winter, and when he gets on them, exactly what you've just said, he does tend to make the difference for those type of horses. I would call him outstanding. And when I watched him in Australia, which I watch a lot of racing down under, they adored him. And jockeys down there are revered. Aussie Tom, they called him. I think he is going to be the next one that takes us to the next level.
But that's a fairly big call, isn't it? Because he's really still at the start of his career, Tom, isn't he? How long has he been riding? Probably 4 or 5 years.
There's not a lot he can't do. If I saw him riding on one at Southwell, for example, if I saw him riding on one at Lingfield that needs to be held up, which I think for a jockey is one of the hardest tasks you've got on a keen horse, I've got no problems with it.
But he's got to get the job that's going to give him the firepower to do it. That's the key with these things. It's all very well saying, well, they're all much of bashes, but some of them are freelancers and struggling, and others are riding for, shake hand down or whatever.
He's doing the James Doyle route at the minute, isn't he? He's gone to William Haggis, so it could be Godolphin. So Michael Stout, is that a power that's going to be around that much longer? We don't know. So it looks like Godolphin will be the one for him.
So were you, when Bjorn Nielsen and put Frankie Dettori on English King and dropped Tom Marquand
I thought it was a bit crazy. I totally understood it because of the Strad link. I totally got it. It's up to the owner at the end of the day. I didn't get too vociferous about that. But when Khalifa Sat finished ahead, I did think there was a bit of justice there. And we saw what he did on Galileo Chrome in the St Ledger, right? He had literally no time to study that horse, just rode to his judge. He was absolutely fantastic. That horse looked beat 2 furlongs out. Listen, we're talking jockeys. Who are your favourite jockeys out there? Is there a Gulf out there at the moment? Apparently, we're in a golden era. Is that correct? Let us know. If you're watching on YouTube Live, welcome back. And on Facebook as well. Great to have you. Graeme Rodway back in the studio. Bruce Millington. Barry Orr will be back. The Gremlins are there. But for the minute, you're assuming Barry's role as well, if you don't mind. You're
No problem.
multitasking today.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. Commentating, putting on, defending G-Rod,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
tipping losers.
That's probably been your job ever since you become editor, isn't
No,
it?
not at all, mate.
Defending
No,
me.
you've always
Funny how
been,
things work out, isn't it?
you've always been very low maintenance,
Flipped
G-Rod.
a coin there. It gives a go with 2 halves. And let's get these social comments in then. What have we got out there? What are we, around about 12 minutes away now? If they're keeping to time at Ascot, no reason why it shouldn't really be. No 2-year-olds today, of course. The 155, the 6 furlong, QIPCO British Champions Sprint. Oh, it's been a bloodbath, if you like, for punters the last couple of years. Will the cream rise to the top with Dream of Dreams? Will it be One Master bidding to go, what, a couple of places better than last year? Oh, Power, I can see there's some money for that. Starman, Paul Keeley's on a roll. He likes that indeed. And Oxted as well. First time wind operation for the July Cup winner. There are plenty of them there. Let's have a look at the market, Bruce, and tell us exactly
I'll
who's
talk
leading
you
where.
through it. So obviously the big news today has just been the unease behind Dream of Dreams, who I think was kind of 13-8 for this, for much of the week, and now out to nearly 7-2. I think 4.2 is Burlington Bertie, isn't it? In a very non-modern digital terms.
Yeah.
One Master is also pretty easy to back at 8.2. Art Power 10, Starman 10, Oxted. Now this is the price. I'd actually just managed to nick a bit of 13s. This is the price to me, chaps, that if there's a horse that wins and you look back and you say, how on earth was that allowed to go off at that price? For me, it is Oxted, because he's so progressive. He's brilliant in the July Cup. And the only negative is the ground.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily a negative. He's run on it once on his debut and he blew out. But so what? That might just be because it was his debut. And he's a different horse now. So I'm perfectly prepared to believe that the ground won't suit Oxted. But I'm more than prepared to take a chance that it will. In which case, 11.5 or 12 or whatever he is going to look ridiculously big, in my opinion. It's going to look crazily big. Because he's so progressive.
Let's
and good.
concentrate on him then a little bit. On tough ground, a lot of good judges will tell you want a 7 furlong or so. Well, he's got that tick in the box, hasn't he? He wanted to start. I think that might have been his first win, actually. Then they realised he was that quick. Is he a pace angle in the race, G, as well? We need to find out where the pace is. I thought that Holly Doyle, we're coming back to Holly, I thought that Glen Shill was the obvious one, right down the middle.
Yeah, possibly. I think that they will have Dream of Dreams fairly prominent here.
Yeah, now tell us about Dream of Dreams, because you got this right. You thought it was Oisin Murphy made the difference. So you obviously think he's an outstanding pilot.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is another thing that I got slated for, suggesting that Ryan Moore, replacing Ryan Moore with Oisin Murphy had made all the difference. But of course, Oisin Murphy is riding this horse Dream of Dreams differently to how Ryan Moore was riding.
That began in the Hungerford Stakes over 7 at Newbury.
Yeah, Oisin Murphy's obviously got on it and said, right, well, this all stays very well. I'm just going to let him go, and then we'll see if he keeps going. And when he ran in the Hungerford, he just let him roll, and before you knew it, everything else was off the bride, and he was just powering on, and then
Do you
it
not
was very
think
similar.
that's a bit of a characteristic of Oisin Murphy? I'm not saying he can't sit off a pace, but I think generally speaking with him, he's a little keener to have them up there somehow. I don't know. That might not stand close scrutiny, but I just don't associate him with. Occasionally, the very best jockeys they get a little bit overconfident, I think, and they sit too far off the pace, and they struggle to come through it. And you think, why did you do that? But I don't perceive that being one of the things that Murphy does very often.
He's a very sort of keep it simple man,
Exactly.
isn't he? Which I like. I very
type.
much like
Yeah.
that sort of approach. Why overcomplicate it if you don't have to? And let's be honest, most sprint races are won from the front or from prominent positions. Not many sprint races across the whole season in Britain. Would you see time and time again horses coming from a long way behind to win?
Okay, so we'll come back to the market leaders. Bruce likes Oxted at a price. G, I assume, is that your play before we move on, Dream of Dreams?
No, I've backed Oxted as well, along similar lines to...
Thanks for the backup. I'm not going on about it.
You got your defence
I'm
lawyer
going
there.
on about it, and you're sitting there like, what's he on about?
You wouldn't want him in the jury, would you?
The problem is that I was actually going to say, oh well, I can't be on Dream of Dreams at this price.
I can't believe it.
But now Dream of Dreams is 4.3, is it? I'm sitting there thinking,
So you're going to keep him on side?
I've got to back Dream of Dreams, but we had this conversation last time. I absolutely hate backing two horses in a race.
Why?
It drives me nuts.
Don't get him started, honestly. We haven't got time.
You're trying to watch two things going on at the same time, and I know if you win, right? I know if you back the winner, you're happy. But if I back the winner in the second singly and I haven't done the straight forecast or the full forecast, I feel like I've lost. And
What
then
was
I'm
your
like,
saying? Pick your poison, wasn't it? About that was. We're not even. Listen, we've got a trade actually. Barry may not be with us, but of course he can still get through. And Barry has got a play in this, and we know you'll want to know what it is. Interesting play as well. He's hoping that there's going to be another Boyle over here, a filly that really likes Ascot and Bruce. If you could get this on for us, that would be great. It's Onassis. For Charlie Fellows, the aforementioned. This could be a lady double because Hayley Turner, who loves this filly, she gets back on. It is BSP in the win market in 4th place. 25
BSP,
each.
I'm doing BSP, am I?
25 on the BSP in the win market, please.
BSP obviously is Betfair starting price. So we'll do, 20 on that, is it?
25 he's asked for, please.
25.
This is Mr. Barry.
Okay.
Or
25 on Onassis at the Betfair starting price. And then we 4 places, did you say?
yes, that looks like the market's there for
4 places,
doesn't it?
7.2, and we're having another pony on that as
That's
well,
the
are
way,
we?
please. So Bruce,
Right then.
Thank you, Bruce, for Barry. Well done, Barry. You'll know you're out there somewhere. We'll get you back on shortly, no doubt. Can I give you the time of the first race, lads, as well?
120, wasn't it?
It is. He's back. He's in. The 120 was running a time 12.75 seconds slower. That's heavy ground, isn't it?
on the round track.
On the round track.
Yeah, of course. With this,
And Trushan, the heavy ground lover, so he will get hit with that stick a little bit, won't he? I think people will write that off as a ground race.
Yeah, they might do, but you can't take much away from.
You think he's going to win a Gold Cup?
He could do. Still very lightly raced, isn't he? And
we will be doing this all show. But
you wouldn't say
your defence
can't.
lawyer is there. No, your defence lawyer's jumping in now.
I'm backing you, G-Rods. That's what it's all about, mate.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
We'll stick
Teamwork,
together.
absolutely. Paris to Liverpool. Wow, who'd have thought it? Okay, all right, so let's get back to it then. So I like Cape Byron in this, chaps.
He's drifted 18.5.
Cape Byron. I think the money came from early. I'm not totally surprised by that. People might be going off the fact that he's not run for 364 days. He has been ready to run. Loves this place, doesn't he? Won the Victoria Cup on pretty bad ground first time up. Was that last year? I believe it was. And hasn't been seen since capitulating in this race last year, but he's been on the go for a little while. I like his draw in stall 2, actually, funny enough. I thought Happy Power right next door in stall 1. Last year, if you remember, they all went far side. I know, because I was on Hello Youmzane, the recently retired Hello Youmzane, and it was painful watching as Don Juan triumphant powered there. I think if there's pace on the far side, it will really suit.
So
So the stalls are on the far side, aren't they? So in
stalls
other
are
words,
far
on the
side.
inside of the track.
Yes. Now, this is interesting. We were chatting about this in the office yesterday. Would you want your horse to make a beeline? Because Paul Keeley, our esteemed colleague, was saying it will be quicker on the stand side. What do you do? Will one of them just go, right, over I go?
Do you remember Richard Hughes used to do that, didn't he? Every now and again. He'd be drawn in stall 1, then he'd be over.
Get on over. And
I don't know if it works.
It's egg
It might
on
work,
face
isn't it,
or
a
it's
couple of times,
genius,
but-
isn't it?
I don't think anyone's going to gamble there. But the only thing is, I suppose, with 17 runners, you could get a division anyway, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You're likely to, aren't you?
I mean, I just crunched some numbers on the Balmoral draw, which is similar, isn't it? And it just generally said you don't really want to be on the wing.
Okay.
Either 1 or 2 or
What's the
wide
history of
outside.
the draw on this race? Let's have a
Well,
look.
it has been low last couple of years. Let me just get you the last couple of winners. So since flying, I'm still on the I'm still on the Stayers race, the 120. Let's get this up 155 up. It was low, I know it is. Stall 10 has won it recently, but okay. So since the Tin Man, who reappears for a 6th year in a row, who's with the Tin Man out there? He won't mind the ground. He was in stall 3. Then Labisa Breeze, who remembers that massive gamble for Dean Ivory and Tony Bloom and those famous colours, took it out. He was stall 3.
So,
Sansa Marley made all down the middle. That was stall 10G. And Don Hon front last year was stall 4.
So where's Keel's got this wisdom from then that you need to be drawn high?
The going stick.
He was on the going stick. He's obsessed with the going stick. He looks at it right at the start of the week, and it's the only one thing that gets him livened up actually on a Friday.
Well, this is another one of the things that gets my bee in a bonnet. Really, it's not particularly the going stick, but you know when the clerk of the course goes round with a stick, and he's got his walking stick, and he goes, I'll put it in. Look, it comes out that far. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Just surely it depends how hard you push the stick in as to how far it goes in.
Isn't it? No, I mean,
Are you talking about a walking stick or the going stick?
No, not the going stick, a walking stick.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't use a walking stick.
But they all
walking sticks.
All the clerks have got one. They all go around with this stick, and
Isn't
they
that
go,
the whole point that it's replaced the stick?
Yeah,
no, but it hasn't though, has it? Most clerks still have the stick.
Clerks of course, they have to have a stick, a wax jacket, and a small dog. They're the 3 essential
cap.
pieces. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you wear a cap? I wear a cap.
No, I don't.
I do.
No,
I
I
live
can't
in Buckinghamshire and I wear a cap, and I've got a tweed jacket.
No.
I've got a dog. I could be a clerk. If anyone's watching, I wouldn't mind Anfield. So
You've got a stick, have you? Or you can get one.
do you know what? I have got sticks actually. My dad had an amputated leg, so
Well, you've got sticks.
So I have got sticks. Maybe I should go out and pretend to be a clerk. And of course, if you're walking in a certain village in Buckinghamshire and you see me doing that, you know what I'm rehearsing for. I think, talking of the aforementioned Paul Kearney, should we see what he likes in the sprint?
There's no doubt the Dream of Dreams is a worthy favourite on what he's done this season. He seems to be a different horse since he's been gelded. I can't get it out of my mind, the fact that he's been second last in the last 2 runnings of this race. Autumn and Soft Ground and Ascot just don't seem to be for him, and I think he has to be taken on. One Master is far more likely to run her race. She was second last year, but I don't think the race is as strong as this year's one is. And I think the horse to back is Cape Byron. Now, he hasn't run for nearly a year, but that's no problem for him whatsoever because he has twice won first time out at Ascot. He did so last year. He actually thrashed Don Juan Triumphant by 2 lengths, and that one went on to win this race. This year he's been bought fresh, and that might be a master stroke from Roger Varian. Hopefully it will be, and I think double figure odds are really, really too big for a horse who also has a Wokingham on his CV.
Oh, Keel's weighing in with me. Cape Byron. So look, a coherent argument there. I like him indeed.
But what I've got to say to you, Dave, and just to get back on my trainer argument here, is if he goes and wins here, Cape Byron, are we all going to be saying what a fantastic training performance this is?
It's genius.
From Roger Varian? Because Keel's just said there himself that the horse has no problem coming off a long absence because he's won twice first time out at Ascot. So the horse is obviously just a horse that goes well fresh anyway. So the fact that he's been off for 364 days is almost a positive, as Keels has just said there. So what influence has Roger Varian had, apart from obviously just getting him fit, in 364 days?
It's really got your back at this, hasn't it?
Well, I'm just asking the question, that's all. Because I guarantee you that if Cape Byron wins, one of the pundits out there will say, what a fantastic training performance it is.
Well, how many times do you write in pieces a great chaining achievement when a horse has been off for a long time? The thing about Cape Byron is he has been ready to run. He would have run in the Bengoff Stakes 2 weeks ago, had it been. So they've been priming him, and he needs this ground.
But say...
For me, I've read it, G, that they are... Let's not go to York when that was rerun. Dakota Gold would have run him off his feet anyway. But this is valuable. Let's go for it. With saving, we know he goes fresh. I just think he's got lots in his favour. Will it be a great training achievement? Did you think it was that with Fujiera Prince when he came out? You know, he's a horse that's had very little racing, isn't he? And where does Varian stand in your level of genius?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a very competent trainer, obviously, as lots of them are. And, you know, the one thing I would say to you is that, and you say this to lots of other pundits as well about training, for example, is, you know, you'll often hear pundits saying, oh, what a fantastic training performance after a win. I don't think any time I've been watching for racing 25 years plus, I don't think I've ever heard a pundit once say, when a horse got beaten, oh, that was a poor training.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. But what happens is, Graeme, is that sometimes when you're looking at a sport event, particularly racing, which, let's be honest about it, is most of the time a set of horses start at A and try and get to B as quickly as possible. And they do, and it just happens. And there's no real story to it. But they've got to try that. You can't just write a report saying, well, Lucky Boy won and that was that. You have to try and put a narrative on it. And so if you can say, it's a sexy thing to say, it's a great training performance.
It gives you a story.
It gives you a story, but you're absolutely right. Most of the time, they've all been perfectly competently trained, and the best ones won. So I agree with you. I think it's really, really overplayed.
And you've seen what sort of backlash can happen if you were to say that he's not had him fit enough or something like that.
Well, but the thing is, again, with my wig on as G-Rod's defence lawyer, G-Rod's not really having a go at trainers. He's having a go at people who get too wrapped up with the art of training. Training is really looking after animals. There's no magic to it. I agree with that. You can do it badly, you can do it really well. The best thing, the biggest skill a trainer has got is training owners to have horses with them and to buy as expensive a horse as possible. That's the skill.
And something you picked up on, which I think has been borne out recently, plotting your races, race placing. There's an extreme art to that. I thought about what you said before we go to a stat pack. We've got a stat pack out there for you. It made me think about the likes of Tony Martin, who I got to know quite well. He was a genius at placing his horses, but he could get one right. He knew how to physically get one right for the day. So,
but then for the next 10 years, everyone smashed every Tony Martin horse down to single figures because he's a genius, and they didn't always win.
But that wasn't Tony's fault, was it? And Tony,
no, exactly. This is the point you were making. You're not having a go at trainers. You're just saying that this idea that they're all geniuses and magicians isn't true.
Yeah, no,
they're businessmen apart from anything else.
Absolutely.
I remember saying to Hugo Palmer, "What's the key thing with training? It's just running a business efficiently."
Yeah,
and that's what it is.
And we spoke to Brian Meehan a couple of weeks ago. Ryek, huge player for Brian. Really wish you well with that, Brian, out there in the last race. He said it's not really rocket science. We just keep them well, and it's getting to the race course in prime shape. So
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's nothing personal about it. It's just this whole idea, and it just gets so overplayed.
Okay, unless we have a miracle from the IT team, apparently. Barry Orr will be sitting on the sidelines, but he's out there and he's listening, and he has given us our plays. If you're wondering what he's playing in the Fillies and Mares, just to give you a heads up, I think this would be his nap of the day. He really likes Thundering Knights for Betfair ambassador Joseph O'Brien. He's bound to nick one on the day.
I've got some terrible news for you.
Go on.
Kate Byron is 32
What's that all
on
about?
Betfair.
I'm not going to let that worry me.
32.
Now,
I always say don't worry about a drift, but
especially not coming from these connections. It doesn't worry me. Okay. Again, we've covered this on the show. We know we've had lots of socials in about this. It worries me a lot more, if a horse like Stradivarius, for example, there's one example. If a horse is 6-4 and it ends up at 9-4, that worries me more. A very strongly fancied horse. Or 5-2 than something that goes out from 25s to 33s or 40s. We won't get you started on this because we've done this and we've done this all over and over and over. We have a stat pack out there for you. 4. Track records broken then, and the stat pack. Do look out, of course, in your members section. You've got your papers. A great paper it was today as well. It is today, I should say. Kevin Morley's trends, absolutely superb. Pinpoint. Listen, these races are so important for the trends. We've got some socials coming in, but we're going to have a look at the market for the sprint race. We've got Andy Sim. Good to have you back on the show, Andy. Happy power each way for me. In the 255, 155 it is, of course. Getting ahead of yourself there. Happy power, just quickly, G.
Big improvement needed, isn't it?
It was a blow there, wasn't it? Do you think he's just a good Group 2 horse?
Yeah, I got the feeling last time everything sort of fell a bit in his lap. That was the day we were on.
Jumped off him as well, hasn't he, for Art Power?
We were on that day. That was the day
Newmarket,
when he beat Pogo. And do you remember everything won from the front that day?
Mark
and he
Smith
ran from the front.
Has come in. Thank you, Mark. Lots of love for Happy Power. Another one. He's not slow and he likes the ground. He's on the far side as well. Would he get a freebie? And ABP says, Oxted for me. G and Bruce like this as well. Bruce, the market's lively.
Well, yeah, Happy Power there, funny enough, has been really, really well backed. He's 12. He did touch 10 recently, so he's one of the best backed. Also pretty popular is Sonala. That's solid at 17. Starman's pretty solid at 11. There's been money for Art Power, who's come into single figures at 9.4. One Master is solid at 8. Dream of Dreams has held after that initial drift at 4.2. Lope Fernandez, who was, you think about it, you know, Royal Ascot last year, rubbing shoulders with Pinatubo.
Yes.
He's out to 22. He's pretty friendly. That big drift on Cape Byron, people have decided that is too big now. He's back into 26. Oxted is 12.5. It's too big. It's just too big a price.
We're going to find out a lot about Oxted, I think, today.
No, well, the only thing we're going to find out is he doesn't like soft ground.
Or whether he does.
But if he does, then, you know.
If Oxted likes soft ground, then he is by Mason, and they tend to like soft ground, so all the trainers say it.
He's just run on good to soft, hasn't he? And it wasn't great, but I would wager he wasn't the horse he is this year, and Roger Tilley's just got him absolutely
Also,
peaking,
that wind up that you referenced earlier, I mean, Roger Tilley in his comments in the Racing Post today said that he just had a small ulcer removed, so therefore had to declare it as a wind up. It wasn't, you know, your classic that he had a wind problem. It was just a piece of...
What do we make of Art Power? Because we've just said Happy Power was quite strong, but Art Power, when I was crafting the questions for a Saturday jury about 4 or 5 weeks ago, Sylvester de Souza happened to be on the Saturday jury, and I wanted to know what horse he was looking forward to riding the rest of the season, you know, in one race. And he said, I'm looking forward all season. The one horse I'm looking forward to is Art Power in the British Champions Sprint. So he he obviously hasn't jumped off it either. He
blew them away at the Royal Meet. That seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? He's drawn in 10. He's gonna need to latch on early. I don't know. Is he caught between 5 and 6 furlongs with me? What about Starman? We've not chatted about him, have we? 111 next to his name. Tom Marquandon. Tom Segal's given him a lot of love today. I know Kitty quite likes him as well.
Not good enough, I didn't think. But
sure.
We've just seen Keeley banging a big price winner, and if Keeley and Siegel think he's up to it, but I looked at him and just thought, well, he's got, at least £8 to fine with Dream of Dreams, and probably £7-8 to fine with Oxted.
Happy to put a line through.
He's very, very lightly raced. He might be up to it, but he's not the sort of horse that I'll be looking to back at single figure odds.
You've got to be an outstanding 3-year-old to win this, I think, guys, as well. Brian Meehan took it out with Lady of the Desert. It was later placed in Nunthorpe.
Who's your man, Tom, Tom Marquand?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd rather back, of the progressives, I'd much rather back Oxted. I've got to put a word in for the tin, by the way. I'm telling you, and not just sentimental this, his run last time behind Dakota, which was only a week ago, was really, really good. This is absolutely his stage. I could easily see him in first 4. Really could. They're almost all in, though. So
saw a nice quote from James Fanshawe, Bruce, earlier in the week, saying Adam Kirby would have learnt a lot from that run last time, so he's drawn low as well. Good luck.
Am I taking this one, or do you fancy it, G-Rod?
Are you man?
I'm happy to do it.
Go on, then,
do you want something a little more sedate later on?
I think the controversy levels with G at the moment are up there.
They're off and running. They are off. You can help me out, G-Rod. They're all going down the far side. No one's coming across. Up there early is Cape Byron in company with Happy Power on the far side. And also going very well is Glen Shiel and the woman of the moment, Holly Doyle.
They're going slow,
They're
boys.
not going very fast.
They're going slow.
Being held up, but very prominent, is Chief of Chiefs. And down the near side, Dream of Dreams has not got too many behind and he's 4. Any big market moves? One Master 6.6. One Master's buried away towards, in midfield. That's
loads
not
of
too
cover.
Bad. But basically at the moment, as they come down with 4 furlongs to go,
Oxted's tanking.
Holly Doyle and Glen Shiel. Where's Oxted?
He's right up there in the pink, Bruce.
There he is.
Dream of Dreams is long odds on.
Dream of
Dreams. Is he going to come swooping through? He's being held on a tight rein as Oxted does battle with Glen Shiel, and just off them is Dream of Dreams. But I tell you what, he's suddenly not odds on anymore. And Oxted and Glen Shiel are the two who are going to battle this one out. Holly Doyle, or is it going to be Oxted? Here comes Oxted. Here comes Oxted. Who's his first master?
Brando!
Brando?
No,
Brando. Who's this down the near side? It's Glen Shiel and Brando. Glen Shiel. Has Brando won it? Has Brando won it?
It's Glen Shiel, I think.
Oh, wow. Could this be Holly Doyle breaking through 2 from 2 potentially?
I'm not sure. I think Brando's won it.
It's very close.
Brando's won it. This will tell us.
It's
evens each of 2 on Betfair. Brando.
Brando.
Can it be? Is it going to be Brando or is it going to be Holly Doyle? Glen Shiel's going to get the
It's going to be Glen Shiel.
Lads.
Holly Doyle.
That is genuinely, sometimes you can see it in these slow-mos, and one of the greatest things that Sky Sports Racing has done for the game is bringing this slow-mo cam. And you can usually always tell, pick your poison in the photo. I can't really tell there. I'm thinking it might be
No,
far side now.
it's far side.
Yeah,
It's far side.
It's
Holly Doyle,
Holly
take a
Doyle,
bow. I
mate.
know a couple of judges that were on this I spoke to in the week. Ronnie Batinga, who manages Racing Interactive, absolutely all over it. In fact, I can see him messaging me now. Woo! I found one. Absolutely incredible. And she has broken through at the top level finally.
I backed Brando. 100.
Did you really?
I backed Brando 120.
Dan Walsh in the studios all over Brando as well. Adam Ryan, if you're watching.
Oh my goodness me.
Just when they thought, I mean, it was so difficult.
I backed Oxted and Brando. I thought I can't lose on the race.
What a ride that.
Hang on, it's 1.09 Glenshill, so it's not completely done yet, but this would be unbelievable if she takes out the first 2 races on Champions Day. That's the Grey Art
Has it
Power
been
finishing on the
confirmed yet?
far side. Oxted's run an almighty race. So's One Master come through. It's either Glenshill or Brando's won it. Oxted's 4th, One Master's 3rd.
Oh.
This is wow.
Listen, let's just.
I think she's won it. I really do think.
She's won.
But it's on the nod. But it's
what is she, Bruce, on the exchange?
1.07.
Glenshill won. Glenshill won.
Glenshill's won it.
Glenshill has won it. Oh my goodness gracious me! For Hambledon Racing, former Racing Post handicapper Simon Turner's mob. Is that their first domestic Group 1? Wow, what a story this is. Behind Dream of Dreams in the Haydock Cup, everyone thought she got loose that day. She was in the right part of the track. It's a fluke. Archie Watson, would that be his first domestic Group 1 winner? Soldiers Call didn't quite get one of those.
And she is absolutely delighted. We're watching live pictures.
This
and
is
she
incredible.
has gone absolutely bananas in the saddle there.
This Bruce was the one thing that was missing from a sterling CV.
Group 1.
Is the Group 1.
That's unbelievable.
Wow. So if the media, the mainstream media that have concentrated on her this week leading up to it, Daily Mail, take a bow. You got the spread. It was double page spread. And what is it going to be next week? I'm telling you, down under at the moment, Rachel King, Clive Cox's former secretary, had a ride in the Everest. Jamie Carr, Prince of Arran, ran a blinder today in the Caulfield Cup. So these female jockeys, they are different gravy at the moment. And Holly Doyle, right at the top of the sphere in the UK.
I mean, there's going to be no worries about trying to find a story on the day is there today, because this is definitely going to be big news. I mean, let's hope that this gets out the racing bubble as well. Let's hope this gets onto the mainstream news. This is
absolutely
British
incredible.
Champions Day. This is one of the biggest days, if not the biggest day of racing in Britain, and we've got the best female jockey in England, possibly in Europe, taking out the first 2 races. What a story that is.
80-1 Brando. Oh my goodness. He's done me proud, hasn't
There's
he? I mean,
the top 4 then, guys. Glenshill, wow, if you got Glenshill and went with Holly. The Holly train is rolling. Glenshill takes out the British Champions Stakes. They're taking my ear crying because Brando, the boys in the gallery, had a little bit on that. Oh, the Ryan. Oh, goodness gracious me. If you're watching Adam Ryan, so close yet so far. The old boy, One Master. That's who you. She's just fantastic, One Master, isn't she? Let's hope she sticks around next year. And Art Power, back in 4th. Then what a. But I tell you, do you know the horse that I want to take out of this is Oxted, without a question of a doubt.
ran really well.
I thought for a long way he was going to win it. He just has got a bit tired in that holding ground up that rising finish. He's not beaten at all far. Next year he's going to be a poster boy, I think.
Brando, by the way, was done at 1.11, so nearly 10-1 on.
You said, what's this steaming through, didn't you? We saw One Master, and then Brando came through.
What price was Oxted done? He must have been quite short. Just see if I can torture myself with how many odds-on shots I can get beat in one race.
I don't think you'll be alone.
Oh my goodness me! That was 1.5. Oxted got done. You're right. He's run a blinder, and if he didn't like the ground, then that's a really good run. I think he actually did like it. One Master, by the way, how good is she? She's just
fantastic.
so wonderful, isn't she? Finishing 3rd there, that was absolutely brilliant by her. Dream of Dreams, how short did Dream of Dreams get? Because I think you piped up that it was.
He was cruising.
It was 1.55 as well in the run.
He was a bit too keen, I think. We're just looking at the first couple of phones. They went really slow. The one thing that if you're an analyst now looking at this and thinking, right, let's try and pour some damp water on this. Why is Glenshill come out on top? He has been allowed to get his own way. He wasn't at it early, and he's dictated slow fractions. But no, the way he's seen it out, he's got loads of form at Newcastle, hasn't he? Out that rising finish there.
Look at Brando here; he's miles off it. How's he got anywhere near them?
Yeah, he's run an absolute.
I mean, I know that is his style, but
how old is he now, Brando? I mean,
Brando's 8. I mean,
8-year-old.
He's
Wow.
extraordinary, isn't he? Him and the Tin. I know it wasn't the Tin Man's Dave. That's fair enough, but that was brilliant by Brando. It was a great race that, you know. Art Power's run really well, run with a great deal of credit. Dream of Dreams just peters out. It's not like he goes backwards, he just doesn't go forwards, if that makes sense.
It's just a bit keen for me.
There's a bit of late progress as well from, I think it was Dubai Station, but you know, that's all about Holly Doyle, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that is extraordinary. So she's ridden the first 2 winners on British Champions Day, and now, I tell you what, there will be people who have done Holly Doyle multiples
The
today, and they've
Tory
already
multiple.
won absolute fortunes because that double's paying zillions.
The double D multiple.
So they'll be coming down in price now.
Yeah, so Dame Mayo in the next, who of course finished in front of Wonderful Tonight, the anti-post favourite when they were last seen in the Prix Vermeil, behind Tanawa, a race that's worked out extremely well. Dame Mayo, what price is she going to go? My goodness gracious me. Tell us about the feel-good factor out there. You feeling what we're feeling here in the studio? This is just absolutely different gravy, isn't it?
Speak for yourself. We're just back to 120 to 1.
Well, Kate Byron
I am pleased. But, you know, when you get that close, you don't back 120 to 1 winners that often. And he got done at tens, and he's a lovely old boy.
Need to
But
get one on the board.
I'm more than happy to shut up about that now and bask in the glory of brilliant Holly Doyle because, you know, she's great.
just shown so much to her game in the first 2 races, and she can do it on the round track in a 2-mile race, and yet she can do it at the front of the sprint race as well. Absolutely delighted. We've got socials on the screen. Without further ado, here they come. What have we got? Robert Adnams. Hello there, Holly Doyle. Wow, get in. Get in, absolutely. What have we got? Kieran Kennedy. Holly is a genius. Absolutely. Great to see the love out there. Punters do love her. Mark Smith, girls on fire. Quite right. Absolutely. Onassis there. Hayley Turner just got going a little bit too late. Probably a 7 Vernon filly. Starman just didn't really pick up.
Didn't see him.
So there's a few bubbles burst there as well. Woo! Drama we have had all the way. Stradivarius goes down in the first. My goodness gracious me. What do we do now with Strad? Get your socials in, let us know. You'll be getting all your post-race quotes, of course, in the members section on the Racing Post. Whew, wow, absolutely. Did anyone tip up Brando or anything like that? Or Glenn Shield? Like I said, I know a few judges that are on it. I'm just going to look for the selections here. Let's see what we've got. Anyone go for it? No, that was a blowout.
Just me and Dan behind the glass background. We'll have a little. We'll have a little hug afterwards.
You're a defence lawyer for Dan as well, are you?
Well, Dan's a great judge, and
yeah, well, he just likes to look out the box. So I said, "You're bordering on obsessed with this horse." You went, "Absolutely, I am." So we're fair play. And Adam Ryan, friend of the show, and of course Kevin Ryan as well. Great that Hello Yumze now be retired. I wonder what they do with Brando, whether they give him another year. Sporting owners. Okay, time to move on because we've had Holly Doyle take out the first race. Fun enough, I think she's now going to be made favourite for a hat trick. Can you believe it? What's going on? Unbelievable. October what are we on? We're on the 18th, aren't we?
what we're going to see now, Dave, of course, is that relationship when you get a jockey on a roll, whether it's Frankie or Ryan Moore, and there's liabilities mounting up. You're going to see an anomaly between the traditional bookmakers who've got these liabilities and the exchange where there's no multiples and where they can be much more pure about it because they're not going to be running scared of a particular horse. They don't have to make it an artificially wrong price.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, although the Holly Doyle alarm bells will be ringing in every single betting office now, on the exchange she's second favourite, 6.6. And if you click on the price graph, there was a slight dip after the previous race, but nothing particular. So, you know, the Betfair exchange isn't going to fall for the hype, but the fixed odds bookmakers, I would imagine, will.
I was just picturing the Holly Doyle picture with the bell at William Hill and all the big bookmakers and the likes, you know, and the Betfair Sportsbook moving up to Frankie's one now. They must have, is that bell's ringing?
Well, earlier in the season when she had a 5-timer at Windsor, we did have one of the bookmakers come on and say, Holly Doyle's almost becoming like the Frankie for us, because people love having these big multiples on her during the week because she has so many winners during the week. But this time she's doing it on the big day. And
on big prices, G-Rod. Yeah, so you'll get all these cynics going, shut up, Millington, going on about trying to hype it all up. But it is true. You don't. She's won at 11 to 1 and 16 to 1. That's a huge double already. So if you've done 50p Super Yankee, or a 10p Super Yankee, all of a sudden the value of that bet is enormous compared to what it was. And if she takes this one out, and this is a genuine contender, this Dame Mayo, then all of a sudden it's going to really snowball. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And there's a story with Ed Vaughan as well. This is going to be his last shot at a dart at the big time. Fascinating guy, Ed Vaughan. Worked for Cecil, he's worked for all the big guys. And this would be absolutely huge for him. And when this filly won at Newmarket, a lot of people questioning why on earth with a filly like this you'd be willing to go. Of course, with the economic crisis that we're facing, that's got a lot to do with it. So there's two stories bubbling here. Could you well get it? Okay, so shall we move on then to the aforementioned filly and mares race? This has looked wide open all week, and we'd love to hear from you to know where you're going. This is RP Live. We're up to race 3. Nearly the half-time whistle is blowing. How are you getting on out there? Hashtag RP Live. You can get us out. We will give you a shout out if you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube. Don't forget, of course, to subscribe and like. Get loads of subscribers out there. We know you love the show. We love the feedback as well. End of term, Phil, before we go mad with the jumpers. We'll be back next week. Vertem Futurity, another Group 1 on the flat, but Cheltenham joining the party as well. You know what happened last time we did Cheltenham?
Absolutely, yeah. Dave, one thing I'd love to know from people is who are their top 3 jockeys in order? Give us your top 2, give us your 1, 2, 3. Let's get a feel for what punters, never mind us 3 in the studio, who do the punters love? Who are the punters' pals?
I didn't hear from you. I said Tom Marquand, you suggested Frankie.
For that particular thing, I'd probably go Frankie, but I honestly, like I say, if you gave me the pick of 5 and said draw one at random, I wouldn't be that fussed. I honestly wouldn't. I really wouldn't.
So you're not in the Tom Siegel school of thought then? Because
Tom's massive jockeys.
Tom really believes in the value of a jockey, and I think that particularly we're seeing it today. When you get a jockey that's riding high on confidence, everything just falls into place, doesn't it? Don't even seem to be trying, and it just happens.
I guess what I would say is it would depend on the type of horse. If I've got a horse that might need to go through a gap, there might be certain jockeys I'd go for. If there's horses that are fairly simple, uncomplicated ride, it might be different. But really, like I say, I can't. I've never ridden a horse. I don't have a feel for it. So I can't really master the art of I can't appreciate the art of it.
It does
properly.
surprise me a little bit that during your editorial time at the top of the post, no one tried to get you on a horse.
Oh, they did. I'm joking, but no one did it with an AK-47 pointed at me, so it didn't happen.
The Pas de Biche, for example.
No, you have these charity races, don't you? And there was a few people saying, we'd love you to do it. And I'd be like, no, there's loads of people out there,
You've
loads of reporters.
got near to the top of the hot list for that, haven't you? I'd imagine at the moment.
No, I'm sure there's a few trainers who'd like to stick me on one in the Pas de Biche.
Yeah.
Over the wall.
Yeah, no, I just don't fancy it. I really don't. Lee Mottershead's done it, hasn't he? And Kitty did it last year.
Of course, Kitty Trice,
which was brilliant. You know, and I'd much rather they do it because they want to do it. No, thank you, not for me.
I have to say I'm with you. I don't know whether anyone would physically think it's possible for me to sit on a horse, never mind in a race. Let's concentrate on that now. 1, 2, 3 of jockeys. That would be a great social. Just going back to that, there's an old trainer adage, isn't there? And I've lost count of the amount of times trainers have said to me, such and such is worth so many pounds around a course. With horses for courses is a well-known saying. What about jockeys for courses?
Well, this is something that I often sort of wrangle with myself. I'm like sitting there going, well, because you get claims on apprentices, don't you? And sometimes
I've heard of that. Yeah,
they get like £7, £5, and £3, don't they? Yeah. Well, sometimes if I'm sitting there playing around with the ratings, and I'm trying to work out which horse I think is best handicap to race, sometimes I'll get tempted to, add on the £3 claim of the claim, and you'll often see tipsters write this in their piece. Well, the horse has gone up £6, but is in effect only £3 higher because such and such is taking £3 off. Now, this is where it gets really complicated because then you're trying to weigh up, yes, he's taking £3 off, but the pro who was riding it before, now was he as good as this apprentice who's taking £3 off, or was he better than that apprentice? Is he worth £3? You're just starting to get yourself into all sorts of muddly, murky
I can help you out here, okay? I think that you have to, when you're analysing races, and especially when you're a senior analyst or a junior analyst, we tell them not to take rider claims into account. Okay, so you can even put in brackets, we say, without taking rider claim into account, because it is called a claim, by the way, and that's why it's a claim, because surely the professional
Dave, you may as well by that argument, you may as well say don't take into account any jockeys. If you've got Kieran Fallon still with a claim, that's
Ray
valuable.
Dawson this year.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
So you get these apprentices who are coming through and they're just coming to the end of their claim, and they're going to be the real deal. So then you can't say, well, that claim's not worth anything.
What I'm saying is, after a race, when you're taking weights into account, then you start taking jockeys into account as well. So we in the analysis department, we tend not to take it into account in writing. You can see the claims there. For example, and I won't name names, but if you've got a boy or a girl that's having their first ride and they're claiming 10, and you're thinking he's absolutely chucked in against a horse that he's been beaten a length by last time, and now they're putting a £10 claimer on it. You know that when you're backing that £10 claimer, what you could be in for, right?
Yeah, of course you do. The problem is there's not any really stats around, are there, saying, right, this is what this jockey does. Trainer stats are everywhere. We've already spoken a lot about trainers. They hate the cold trainers list, which I can get, and there's all sorts of stuff like that. But there's no jockey stats, really, is there? There's certainly not as many jockey stats as there are trainer stats, and it just would be so helpful if we had a few more, I think.
If only you worked for the Racing Post and you could create some, G-Rod.
Well, there are programmes out there like Raceway Interactive, for example, G, which you use as well. You can find it on that. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, there are different ways of doing it. But
just click on a jockey and his course stats come up and all that sort of stuff.
It's quite a laborious task, to put it that way, to go through every single...
So jockeys for courses as well. What jockeys, like for example, I watch a lot of all-weather racing. I don't like backing the top echelon of jockeys around Lingfield, for example, because I don't think they know that the inside there's a camber there and it's deeper there. How many times does Frankie Dettori go on the inside of Lingfield, losing 2 lengths? So these jocks that ride them all the time, I'd much rather be...
If you ask me one jockey course combo, SDS Epsom.
SDS, you've mentioned that before, but not Ascot, funnily enough, isn't it? That's a funny one. That straight track G, jockey in a course.
Well, yeah. I couldn't really say that I've got one.
Adam Kirby at Lingfield for me, absolutely different gravy.
Yeah, I can't really say I've taken that much. Sorry, I used to always back Richard Hughes at...
Goodwood's always been a one for jockeys.
Salisbury.
Salisbury.
Yeah. Richard Hughes at Salisbury.
Yeah, that had a lot to do with the team and firepower,
He was very good there, and obviously, it goes without saying, Ruby was the best around Cheltenham by a mile.
It is jumps trainers that used to say to me, Ruby Walsh, around Cheltenham, McCoy here, and certain jockeys there worth pounds. Okay, all right, listen, let's get on to the fillies and mares. We've got stuck into the jockeys and how much we love them and whether there is that much between them. Give us your 1, 2, 3, your top jockeys. I think we might have some reaction out there on the screens. Let's have a look who's coming in. Gordon Mathers, good to have you. Ben Cohen will be Irish champ in the next 3 years. A lot of love for Ben out there at the moment. Rice Dundalk particularly well. That springs to mind. Okay, what else we got? Matthew Wilson, good to have you, Matthew. Oisin, Frankie, Heffernan. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Heffernan. Yeah, this has been Shamey's year, isn't it? You notice he's not here today, by the way. He's riding in the Killervollen Stakes, a big pivotal Group 2 race at Leopardstown today. That's interesting. He's not travelled, isn't he? One more we've got coming up. Jack Rogers, good welcome, Jack. Tom Marquand or Colin Keane. I'd be with you there all the way. Keep them coming in, your 1, 2, 3 of jockeys. And right, filly and mares. We're at 2:30, so we're around about 10 minutes away from that. Let's see what Paul Keeley thinks. He's off the board already.
Wonderful tonight, was very impressive at Longchamp on our weekend, but it was only 2 weeks ago and she had a hard race. She needs to have recovered well from that to have a chance here, and while she's the one to beat, the heavy ground just puts me off coming back so soon. I like the chances of Thundering Knights at a bigger price. She's actually one of the lowest rated horses in this field, but she looks like she's improving and she looks like she's all about stamina. She won Going Away 2 starts ago over a mile and 2 furlong on soft ground at the Curragh, and last time back there she was hindered by the lack of pace on good ground when third to KM Pepper. She was still strong at the finish. She is by Night of Thunder, who was a miler, but she has plenty of stamina on the dam side. The trainer says soft ground is what she's all about, and I'm pretty sure she's going to run a big race at a double-figure price.
Joseph O'Brien then for Keels and has gone to Tom Marquand as well. Barry Orr likes that as well. So should we get the trade in?
Yeah.
Bruce, if
what
you don't mind.
Thundering Knights.
Thundering Knights. We haven't got a stake, so should we keep it 25, shall we?
25 each way, or?
Win and place back, he's asked for.
Okay, win and place. 25 at 13, which is obviously 12 to 1 if you're looking at how this is in decimals. Which we go the standard 3 places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thundering Knights, 3.75, which is 11 to 4.
I just wonder whether she was quite up to this class. 3-year-olds have got a really good record in this. I just wonder if she's quite up to this class. But I wouldn't be totally surprised. She's got the inside draw, hasn't she? And at the Curragh last time, as Kill said, didn't quite go her way. This could be a proper test, though, lads, couldn't it? And wonderful tonight for me. Should be outright favourite, I think.
I'm not sure. I just
You're
thought...
shaking your head there.
I just think this is one of the most impossible races I've seen for ages.
We spoke to
it's
David
so hard this
yesterday
race.
at the Post, and I can tell you he is pretty bullish about her. He wasn't... sometimes traders and connections, they feel like they've got to be bullish to sort of sell the product a bit. He'd just come off the gallops, and honestly, he was.
He was actually saying, wasn't he? It was quite interesting that he was actually saying that they kind of semi-regret not running in the Arc now.
Yes,
don't they?
and had she been a Group 1 winner going into that, Bruce quite right. She ran in the Vermeil. We watched that back in the gallery just when we came in earlier, and I said, why should she reverse this form over Dame Mayo, who's got Holly Doyle on front? The Dame went from the front that day. Wonderful tonight, was caught out on the wing a bit for me. Even So was behind in 6th. Laburnum was in the race as well. Laburnum got the perfect run for me. Interesting that Even So is now carrying the blue colours of Colin Keane and Joe Lyons, Irish Oaks winner. And Wonderful tonight has got her ground again here, and like I say, if she can tug in a little bit, I think she will reverse that form. But for me, I quite like Even So, guys, in this. I watched that back again. She's the Irish Oaks winner. She's a 3-year-old. I think she's got more to come. And she's in stall 3. And if anyone's going to come on for that run, it will be her, because that was hers for the first since she won that Oak. So it was a price thing at 6-1. That's Dave Orton's play anyway.
I've gone with King Ray, 5th in doubt. I think Antonio De Vega. I wasn't very impressed with her comeback at Pontefract, but last time...
Despite winning.
Last time she's beat Alpiniste, and it's only 4 runners, but the other 2 are 14 lengths behind. Now you can say that there's only 4 runners, so what? But I actually do think that sometimes in these 4-runner races, if they've all got form in the book, then there's no reason to doubt it. And I think that was a step forward there, and I think she's lightly raced, and I think she's scopy. She's no certainty by any means, but I just thought around about 6-1, I'd go with Antonio De Vega.
I'm quite pleased to see them both running in the same race here, because at least we can differentiate between the two. Because as we've had this discussion on the postcast a few times, I often get these two mixed up a little bit.
You're not very good with your Vegas, are you?
With me Antonio and me Manuela.
Well, it is a bit for Waverley Racing, of course.
You've just about learned that Johnny Vega isn't a horse, haven't you? But the other Vegas you struggle with, don't you?
Well, I mean, to be fair, if there was a mix-up like what we had last Friday, then you could understand it here, couldn't you?
Who are you going for, G-Rod?
My pick is Medei.
Oh, I'm glad you're talking about this. I was going to bring her up next.
Medei. Now, sometimes I look at a race and I just think, right, forget everything else. This horse is just better than these. And that was my view on the race. Medei. Been running in much better races, hasn't she? I think she was it in Group 1 behind Lord
Prince
North?
of Wales, wasn't it? Yeah.
She was 5th in this Champion Stakes last season. I mean, none of this lot would be, even close to lacing Magical Boots, would they? And she's got favourite for the Champion Stakes, and she was in this. I mean, Magical had turned up. She had been very, very short, I think, to win this race.
Well, at one point we thought we were going to get maybe a Magical and an Able in this. So.
Now, of course, the problem you've got is that she has been a bit of a free-going sort.
Well, she is keen.
She can be really keen and soft ground testing over 1.5 miles, but she has won over 1.5 miles.
And
her last
Frankie
win
has seemingly picked her over Frankly Darling, which he
appears that way.
You remember Rab Havlin got on this at Chester, didn't he? Won the Chester Oaks, which is what an Able won. She looked really impressive that day, daughter of Frankel, and she went to the Oaks after that. And it was like a a Dodgem car. She got knocked all over the place. I backed to that day, just watching Frankie actually running to the start here. We can see.
What's that all about?
I'm not sure.
What's
We'll try and get a word on that. Maybe the guys can work that out. But there has been anti-post love for Medai. She was double figures last night. How's she looking in the market, Bruce? Let's get an update.
Okay, yeah. So basically, Wonderful Tonight, just about favourite from Dame Mayo. 5.7, Wonderful Tonight, 5.8, Dame Mayo. Antonio De Vega solid at 7. It's a pretty stagnant market, to be honest, Dave. Even So, 7.2. Medea, 10.5. There hasn't, like I say, there just hasn't really been much for anything. It's all just pretty solid. I think, most people have cast their vote. I'm just trying to think, if this is 1.5 miles and Frankie's going to be running all the way down there, we are going to be late here, aren't we? Because the 1.5 mile start is, let me think, it's a triangle, isn't it? So it's halfway down the side.
Mile 7 circuit.
The one after the home straight. So
surely someone's going to turn up with a Range Rover in a minute and offer poor Frankie a lift here.
You'd think so.
Look, he's knackered. Look, he's had to stop.
He's pushing 50. Come on, guys, give him a lift. Actually, she looks like... Is she number 4 then, Medea? Because we're watching... The screens, yeah, she is. So she's still in the paddock. So quite what that's about, I don't know.
She's got the hood on in the paddock.
This is something we've seen all season, isn't it?
The red hood.
The COVID season will be also remembered for the red hood.
the red hood season. Yeah.
It's got to be red so they can make it out apparently on the way down, and they take it off on the way down to start. Interesting that Frankly Darling, course and distance winner, of course. And in the odd Ribblesdale that was before the Oaks this year, so weird to think about that, isn't it? The gloss has come off her a little bit, hasn't it? She's got a good draw in the Starcatcher colours who took this last year.
it has come off that gloss. I still think she was really, really good those first 2 runs. So I've had a pathetic sort of sentimental bet on her. That's a really bad thing to do when you're a punter, by the way. Just go, oh, I can't let her go on back because I've been back. It's just
Betting
rubbish.
with your heart, you
a
mean.
good I was saying to you, Gira, before, a good tipster doesn't care about all that. They don't care what their personal history is with a horse. They say, right, this is the race. Doesn't matter whether I've backed them in the past. This is the one I'm going to go for. But I find it difficult, don't you? Sometimes to get off a horse.
Well,
that's me, but I wouldn't say I was a good tipster. But
nothing
that's
worse,
what I
is it?
do. It doesn't bother me. I think I'm too long in the tooth.
What, so you don't get emotional about it?
Try not to.
No, it's a really good thing to do, because beyond that, you're letting your ego override your judgment there.
I've just been burnt too many times in the past, probably.
I mean, I generally agree with you, but the one thing I would say is that if you've seen something that you like in a horse at some point along the way, and you go, oh, that was good, then it goes and runs 1 or 2 or 3 bad races. I don't think you should suddenly go, oh, well, what I saw that day wasn't right. You know, you should still be able to sit there and go, well, is there a reason why that horse hasn't run to that level? Is there a reason why she could come back to that form? Or they could come back to that form? You know, like, if you've seen something with your own eyes, there's no doubt about it, your own eyes are the best guide. Forget ratings and all that. What you see yourself with your own eyes, that for me and they're the most rewarding bets as well. Like the ones that I've seen with my own eyes, I go, oh, that was good, and then maybe it disappoints a couple of times, then it goes and wins at a nice price. There's nothing more satisfying than that for me.
True, I suppose.
So yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I do think that if you've seen something, you should stick by it for a certain
Keep
amount
with
of
the
time.
project.
When I was a kid, when I was 18, I went to work at Catford Dog Track. I was the assistant racing manager at Catford, and there's an old trainer called John Horsfall, very shrewd old man. And he said 2 words of advice: let your eyes be your guide and your money the last thing you part with. I heeded the first one and ignored the second.
Eyes and ears and all that sort of thing, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. So are there any horses in this that you've had to forgive and that you've got on? Let us know where you're playing in the filly and mares. Keep your jockeys coming in, your 1, 2, 3s out there. See some really interesting love for that so far.
Just with regards to Mare, this is not something you see very often at all, is it? You've actually got the horse chasing the jockey down the track now.
Come back, Frankie!
The horse is going down very, very quietly without a jockey on. They're obviously trying to keep a lid on
her
her.
or something, because she's so late out, isn't she?
Yeah.
I don't know whether she's spread a plate in the parade or something, because the others are all down there. The others have been there for ages. I think even Frankie's down there now, isn't he?
She's definitely not got loose at the start. That's
We're
for
not
sure.
at race time yet. So let's have if you were, what would be favourite?
That will be the
2:35?
day hell freezes over when Ascot get a race off early. Never even get one off on time.
Absolutely. Oh, the controversies there would be something else, wouldn't they?
This is a race, don't you think, Dave? This is a race that we've got, 11 runners, is it? They've all got a chance to a greater or lesser degree. I wouldn't be surprised with anything winning this.
I was just looking down thinking, have I got what covered I need to be? Is there one that you've omitted that you're thinking, oh, that's the one? That could be it's wonderful tonight for me, I've got to say. When she was 7-2 yesterday, there was other fillies I thought at prices might be more attractive, but she has drifted out a bit.
I suppose with my Rafe Beckett fan club hat on, Manuela has run really well on this kind of terrain, but I just think her recent stuff isn't good enough. So I'll pass her over. I'll stick with Antonia. I do think this Medea is one that you probably also... And again, the beauty of Betfair, I know you don't like backing more than one horse in a race, Giro, but you can calibrate your stakes. So you can say, my main bet's going to be a £5, but I'm going to have £2 on this as well. And I would do that with Medea. I'd make sure that if Medea wins, I don't lose.
Right, OK. Absolutely not losing is the key. Ross Briley was talking about that last Saturday on the show, wasn't he?
Holly's a drifter.
Now that's interesting, isn't it? That she's a drifter, because I looked at Dame Mayo. She has won on soft ground before at Newmarket, but we're talking about summer soft ground, and that although it was against the boys, it hasn't actually worked out that well. That form, Communicate, etc.
That was a very, very funny race, that one, Dave, because Dame Mallow was pulling quite hard in behind. She was quite keen.
What disappointed in the race was it Emberhart, or was having its comeback?
Yes, I think that might have been the horse. And Communicate appeared to be getting quite an easy lead, and then
she takes a tug, doesn't she?
Holly Doyle just went, right, Dame Mallow's pulling a bit. I'm going to let her go, and I'm going to let her stride on. Went far side, took the lead.
It was a weird race to watch,
and it was just had a weird feel about it, and that race there is like £5 or £6 better than anything else that Dame Mallow has achieved in her life. And when you see a figure like that, like it makes you wonder whether there's that wasn't
she
quite
did
right.
run well in the Vermeil in France last time. So the last couple of going
Beginning to
Bruce.
go, and we should just mention two Aidens who are both sub 20, and that's Laburnum and Passion. Who do you prefer out of those two?
Laburnum sandwiched Dame Mayo and Even So and Wonderful Tonight in the Vermeil last time. I thought it was ground was the issue with her.
Well, Ryan's been on the wrong one a lot this year, hasn't he? But maybe he could be on the right one here. Certainly Betfair prefers.
One.
Well, they're close on.
Passion's just one of those, and she's got a feeling she's running for the sake of running.
Dame Malio out to 8.4 now. So just before they go off, Thundering, A Wonderful Tonight rather, is 5.5. And then it's 7 Antonia, and Even So
Off
has jumped
they go.
up. So they're off and running in the fillies and mares. It's a pretty level break. Out the back is Cabaletta. Also in no rush to go forward is Thundering Knights. The pace is being set by Dame Malio. It's worked for Holly Doyle to be
Or is that
prominent
Manuela
so
de
far.
Vega, Bruce?
Manuela de Vega keeping very wide, and then Dame Malio next to that one. And on the inside is Frankly Darling.
Oh, he's had a touch
very,
there.
very keen here, Dame Malio, and that might come back. You know what it's like when they're flinging their head around early doors. It very often is difficult for them to retain that energy. Wonderful Tonight's up there as well. Any market moves?
It got a bit messy, didn't it? And I tell you what, William Buick had a right touch there on Wonderful Tonight. It was drawn in 9. They just had a little bit coming together. Dame Mayo, I don't think, but William just got a beautiful ride. He'd be really happy now. What's the machine saying?
Machine saying Wonderful Tonight 5.2 is favourite, but Medea, who Frankie has settled out the back, is also quite short, and Even So, who is last of all. This is this Betfair obsession with horses out the back. That one's also short as well. So they're starting to begin that long turn down Swinley Bottom. 7 furlongs to go, and it's Dame Malio and hat-trick seeking Holly Doyle leading the way from Wonderful Tonight. Still not settling. Sorry, it's Manuela de Vega in front, isn't it? Wonderful Tonight in second, Dame Malio in third, with the other Oppenheimer runner on the inside is Frankly Darling, who's going much better of the two. Antonia de Vega's going well in fifth. In pink is Passion, that one's nice and prominent. There's nothing in any great trouble, is there? There's nothing you'd say will scrumple up your slip, that cannot win. Who do you like from here, G-Rod?
Yeah, they're all going pretty well, aren't they? It's been a
Frankie
weird
Darling's
race.
got
They've
to
gone
sit,
really
hasn't
fast, then slow, then fast, then slow. They say a stop-start gallop. I think this is an exact perfect
I'm not
example.
happy with Even Song. I think she's been given too much to do.
Antonia de Vega is not going well
turning
at
in,
all.
Bruce.
Going very well, and just creeping into it is Frankie on Medea. But Wonderful Tonight
let's take
kicks
some
on
catching
now.
this.
Wonderful
it's
Tonight
going
goes
well.
on. Manuela de Vega
this.
toiling in second.
Come on,
Holly
Even
Doyle
So.
trying to get it done in third. Coming up on the outside is Medea.
Come on,
but
Even
Wonderful
So.
Tonight has kicked on with 2 furlongs to go. Wonderful Tonight. But Dame Malio and Holly Doyle is
Come on,
closing.
Even So.
Frankie's trying to get there as
Go on,
well. But
Frankie.
Wonderful Tonight has got some engine. Wonderful
Listen,
Tonight is
Medea.
powering on. Wonderful Tonight. Medea looks like it's going to take
She's
second.
going to outstay her, I think. Lee.
Can he outstay?
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
you're right.
Wonderful
The
Tonight's going
Dame's
to take
coming
some
back.
catching. No, Wonderful Tonight's got this, I think, as they enter the final
Furlong to
furlong.
go.
Wonderful Tonight's chugging on.
Here
This
comes
is
Holly.
by Dame Malio. This is really
Oh,
good. And on the
David
outside, is this
Minuzzi will
Passion?
be-
Is this Passion flying?
Passion's
Yeah, it's
flying,
Passion,
yeah,
but
this
the
is all
winner has
over.
flown. It's Wonderful Tonight. Oh, my
Brilliant.
darling, you look wonderful tonight. She wins it. A brilliant effort to keep the run going by Holly Doyle on second on Dame Malio, and Passion runs on for third. But that was brilliant. David Menerzier and William Buick keeping it simple and taking out the fillies and mares.
And the first favourite goes in as well. Wonderful Tonight, 72 on the industry SPs, we can see. Interesting, wasn't it? Despite the fact that Holly was indeed going for that hat-trick. Bruce said it, called it 40 off. The exchange doesn't matter. They don't need to have the liabilities there. She was easy to back, Dame Mayo. She's run an absolute storm on ground that probably deep enough for her.
She didn't settle, did she?
No,
Brilliant
absolutely.
run.
She does. She's a big girl. I wonder who's going to have a hold of her next year if they keep her in training. This is a lovely filly, though, this, isn't it? And David said yesterday when we were speaking to him, this horse will just keep him. He doesn't think she's quite near 100% yet. And to back up just a fortnight after running on Art Saturday and to show that attitude, no wondering this time she's got the rail. You called it at a furlong marker, Bruce. She's just outstayed him.
She's really progressive, isn't she, G-Rod? I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because if you look at the arc and the way it's panned out, could you honestly say that she would have? I mean, she would have placed, wouldn't she?
Well, with that allowance and the way
exactly.
that she races
3-year-old fillies get
and the ground.
It's the best allowance
with
in
that
racing.
with that sort of ride, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. But tell you what, there's just a shade. I was just coming off the bend there. I mean, I don't know if you guys probably are old enough to remember. There was always called Ram Rumour, who used to be trained by Sir Henry Cecil, or Sir Henry Cecil
How
as he
old
was
are
at the time. Now, she was a real sort of tough, genuine filly, weren't she? And she was very hard to beat. And nothing flashy about her, but you didn't want to get into a street fight with Ram Rumour. And just looking at that Wonderful Tonight coming off that home bend, it just back in my mind took me back to the days of Ram Rumour just running horses into the ground from a long, long way out. And at the line, she's absolutely pummeled them into submission.
Yeah, because it was a mile 6 last time, wasn't it? Mile
Yeah.
4 today. I mean, she's really good. And she's back next year as well, so she's going to be a star next year because she has made such progress this year. 4-1 favourite wins it. Dame Malio second at 5-1. And Passion's run on really, really well to be third at 14-1, just denying Medea. But I tell you what, again, if you've had these Holly Doyle Super Yankees, there's no harm in a 5-1 place because that
Absolutely
activates
not.
a lot of place multiples as well. So you're delighted if you've had that bet. You really are, and that's run really well. If that had settled, that would have got closer.
It was an interesting race, that, wasn't it? Because I thought that the pace was going to collapse, and even so, made a huge move. Having been settled right at the back, I'm surprised to see that. And I thought she might come and swallow him up. As it turns out, the ground has just blunted her from 2 furlongs out. Medea looked like it was going to pick it up, maybe a bit of weight against the 3-year-old, but it's a bit too keen early. They haven't really come back, have they, in that? If you know, it has been one for the place getters, which isn't often easy to do on soft ground on the round course. If you attack off that home bend, we saw it at the Royal meeting, didn't we? Albeit on summer soft ground, they weren't getting home whatsoever.
Well, it depends on the pace, doesn't it? I mean, you were saying, Giro, that you didn't, and so were you, Dave, that you didn't think they were going nuts early doors.
We were watching on the pictures. We can see the fractions that I could see that they were setting. The times that they were slow. They looked like there was a bit of a battle on earlier, but it was Manuela de Vega that got there. And there's this, just watch it here, guys, in the studio. Watch for when it gets tight and Dame Mayo's lit up. Just here, William Buick, he could have quite easily got a bump. It's the fine line here. It's just coming up right now. It's the one in behind. I can't see which one it is. Right there, he's just, nothing's gone on his inside. Actually, Holly has let him go, and he's got a lovely sit there. It couldn't have gone any better for Buick.
Absolutely. And owner Chris Wright, of course, the music producer. That's why I guess
Chrysalis
the Wonderful
Records.
Tonight.
Yes.
Who had a hit with Wonderful Tonight, G-Rod?
I have no idea.
Chris Rea.
No.
Who was it?
Clapton.
Was it Clapton?
Eric
You say
Clapton.
no like I
I
should
pretty
have
much
known.
sang it in the final furlong.
I
What do you
know
want
the
to get a guitar out?
Was Chris Rea?
Chris Wright.
Clapton. You said no like I should know that. I mean, well, it was showing our musical taste there. Darling, you are wonderful tonight.
Well, you were in
Indeed it was.
the basement. You played the
but that was a
triangle for
completely-
Basement
that
Jacks.
was a
Did you know
completely-
that?
was a completely
No.
different
Have you heard
film.
Basement
No,
Jacks?
yes,
He
yeah.
played the triangle for them. Oh,
The horn.
percussionist, weren't you?
Yeah, hands have never recovered.
And now all of a sudden he's pleading
Listen, it was
ignorance
a
on
completely
pop
different
music.
era. I was a Clapton fan, but that song in particular, that's the one where they get the lighters out, isn't it? The Albert Hall, the mums when you're allowed to do that.
It's mobile phones now.
It is mobile phones now, classic. The O2 and the likes of that. Let's get back there next year. Wow, wonderful tonight. David Menuisier, take a bow. Fantastic stuff. He couldn't have written that well. I mean, I don't want to get your back up, but that is genius training. That is just genius training. All right, so the half-time whistle has blown here on Racing Post Live. Keep your socials coming in. Bruce has asked you for your 1, 2, 3 of jockeys out there. How far has William Buick just gone up your barometer? Right to the top. Let's just get a quick word for Will Buick, actually. He's had, if you remember last year, it looked like he might not actually come back from a fall he had. He had to miss out Royal Ascot when Godolphin had a really good time of it. Pinatubo was out there as well. He came back for that, didn't he?
He was in a bad way.
He was.
He was in a really bad way.
He was, and I had it on fairly good authority from some jockeys that I spoke to out there who there's a reason why William avoided the likes of Chester at the time, and even Wolverhampton he was advised maybe because it does get rough there. And he got labelled a little bit afterwards, certainly by some racing professionals when you're watching it. He was a bit like what we were saying about O'Sheen and Jim Crowley, sit 4th or 5th. They were the horses that he was aspiring to. But this year I think he has shown, hasn't he? He's back, he can do it all over the place. He's a quiet guy, isn't he, Will?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. He's been fantastic this year, isn't he? He's been chasing the title. Doesn't look like he's going to quite catch Oisin Murphy in that race. But yeah, he's been having a fantastic time of it, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're delighted for you, Will Buick. Walter, his dad out there, a race reader, we used to work with him back in the day. He'll be absolutely delighted as well. So fantastic. Off the board, David Menuisier, Group 1. That's David's first domestic Group 1 winner as well. So Holly Doyle's taken it and David's taken it. He's won them all over the place. David, Stockholm Cup, Canada, Australia, Chief Ironside and Dancer Terrell horses like that, Clive Washburn. Kills was telling us a Clive Washburn story yesterday, chaps, by the way. Did you?
I did hear, yeah. Incredibly, it involved alcohol, didn't it?
Amazing, that, isn't it? I wonder what he's doing today, Kills. He's probably plotted out watching the show, isn't he? Kills will be back, actually, next Saturday for the Vertem Futurity. Doncaster, and a bit of Cheltenham as well. Who's buzzing for that? That's going to be great, isn't it? So we've got 3 more races to go here on Racing Post Live. Let's get a tip again for Paul Keeley before we come up to the next.
I try to take on favourites whenever I can, but sometimes you just can't, and Palace Pier is one of those in the QE2. He's looked absolutely top class every time he has run, and he destroyed his field last time. Backfield included Circus Maximus, and while Alpine Star was coming back to him at the line, he'd already done enough to win. I think he's very much the most likely winner, and the opposition has sort of melted away, with QIPCO, the latest one, to not line up. The Revenant was second last year, but I think he's slightly below proper Group 1 class, and Palace Pier isn't. After that, you really are struggling to find a horse to serve it up to him. Circus Maximus is third favourite and obviously handles the track well. But he beat him easily last time, and I think he'll do so again. He is the absolute banker of the meeting. I try to take on favourites.
Cheers, girls. Oh, you've had a bit more to say there. That's unusual for him. Do you know what? Yesterday, actually, just before he recorded those, he was in the studio, so I said, can you make him more than 20 seconds this time, please? Because I haven't got good time got for a swig. He went, I'm going out for a cigarette and I'll do it. And he's come back in. Anyway, so look, Palace Pier. Let's just concentrate on him before we move on to the mile race then, which is, of course, coming up at 3:05, isn't it, I believe? 3:05. We never know with these race times. I mean, it could be 3:06. But it is, of course, coming up the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes. Oh, what a race. Finally, again, we have a miler. We're going to stick around next year. A miler. We love these cream of the crop milers. It's always say after Frankel, don't you? But Goldacova, all the great milers that you can think of. For 4 or 5 years, the mile division was a bit like the Cup division now, isn't it? A little bit stagnant, and there's room for something to come up. Bruce, I want to start with you. When we came back here on Racing Post Live, we covered Newcastle alongside Newmarket, didn't we? And we were a bit surprised that he was turning up in a handicap there. And we knew then that we'd seen something special. You were on him that day. You called it home. And of all the calls actually you've given on this show this year, look back if you can see that on the highlights that you nearly lost your voice then.
Yeah, I loved him. He's really good, and I think he's probably the best horse in training in Britain at the moment now. And it's a shame we've only seen him 3 times this season. I think he's potentially a little bit fragile, but that's the way it is. But I'm expecting a really good run from him today. I just think his form is outstanding. He's proven on this type of going.
No problems.
I just think he's going to be too good for these. I mean, you've got a bit of scope for a bit of bad luck in running, albeit it's on the straight mile rather than the round one. But, you know, I just think he's pretty bomb-proof. I think Palace Pier's going to win this really, really well and be the star of the day. Well, Holly Doyle's going to be the star of the day, whatever happens. But
Yeah.
I think equine-wise, I think it'll be Palace Pier.
Massive moment this for John Gosden, isn't it? Stradivarius bombed out in the first, no enable, coming back next year. Mandaya came there to win the race. John Gosden, all of a sudden, the 2-year-olds have been a little bit below the quality. If they've got some backward ones out there, I'm assuming they will come back. Maybe it'll be a year like last year. Frankly, Darling came out in Newcastle. Palace Pier came out in Newcastle. Watched Newcastle over the winter. This is a huge moment for John.
Yeah, and when you're having this sort of day, sometimes silly things happen, don't they? We've all seen it before, haven't we? You know, you think, you go into that day and you think, we've got 4 or 5 good chances today, and then suddenly Stradivarius gets beat at short price in the first run in no race, and then Mare loses, and you start to think, and then Palace Pier. I mean, yeah, he looks the outstanding horse in the race, no doubt about it. But are we not jumping to conclusions a little bit fast, Bruce? Do you think?
What, about how good he is?
Yeah,
Possibly, yeah.
he's only had 3 runs this season, 2 of them in Group 1s, 1 in a handicap. He's looked very good, but I don't think he's standingly good. You know, I mean, he's not looked like a Frankel, has he? I mean, he looks
because there's loads of Frankels, isn't there? So we're not allowed to call a horse good unless he's as good as Frankel.
Well, we could call him good, but I'm not sure he's the outstanding horse of the season. I mean, for me, there's no doubt if Pinatubo was in this race, I'd be absolutely.
Don't get him started.
I'd be what?
I'd be absolutely all over Pinatubo to beat
mad?
him. Well, I'd be
Why?
absolutely all over him.
Why?
If you weren't watching last week's live show, I know that he got labelled. There was a couple of things that he said. It was broken on the show that Pinatubo had been retired. And you had said on the show prior to that you were on, I don't think Pinatubo will ever be beaten again. He was right.
Yeah, he was, because they retired.
And he got lucky by all accounts, according to Bruce.
But Pinatubo has, for me, produced the outstanding mile performance of the season so far. And that was the one when he finished second. Was it at Longchamp in that
who?
raise? I can't remember the name of the horse.
It was the Persian King race, wasn't it? But what was the race? It wasn't the Mare, because that's what.
It wasn't. Was it the Prat?
It was the Pratt.
Was it?
Pra.
No. Was it Pra?
It's the Jean Pra.
Was it? Yeah.
Hang on a second. Let's get this up because we.
Yeah. Anyway, right.
Yeah, go on.
If it's that, right?
Carry on down this blind alley.
Now, if you go back and watch that race, right? Pinatubo has run an insane race to finish second there.
He did.
No,
I
it's
do agree with that,
absolutely
actually. I do agree with
unbelievable
that.
Defence lawyers coming back.
Right.
No, it was incredible. It was a brilliant run. But I
And-
still
It was in the
think
Moolah.
it was
Moolah.
Moolah, of course it was. But I
The
still
Moolah,
think
Not the
that
Pra.
I still think that
And the form's not bad, you know, because the winner, who he gave about, 10 length head start and only got beat virtually nothing, it went on to finish third in the arc.
yeah, but that was a joke.
And he
that
didn't
arc.
stay in the arc.
That was just a joke, that arc. I mean,
If that arc had been over Mo Porter, he'd have won.
the only way Persian King could possibly have finished so prominent in the arc was to do exactly what happened, where he was allowed to make a ridiculously
When you see a
slow
miler making the
pace.
running in I mean, that would have been like a Zertiup and a
Well-
King George making it, wouldn't it? Okay, let's get some socials while the guys go down their blind alley. What have we got? Mark Smith back on. I'm happy for Palace Pier to win, but I backed Circus Maximum. Circus Maximus, of course, just behind Palace Pier last time. And Roseman each way. Both, of course, went in the Queen Anne, didn't they? So going back to the Queen Anne form. Circus Maximus, I think, is he a lock for the frame here, Circus Maximus?
I've done the straight forecast of Palace Pier to beat Circus
He's
Maximus.
got his ground, he's tough.
Circus Maximus is a really no, I wouldn't say he's underrated, but he's underappreciated, I think. He's such a lovely, tough, consistent horse. And I think he's the best of the rest. So I think I backed the forecast. I think I got 7-1. I was more than happy with
I think
that.
Circus Maximus each way is a really quite a sensible bet.
To be honest, I'd rather do the forecast because I don't think Circus can beat Palace Pier. So I'd rather do the forecast.
Okay, so
That's the way
to
forward for
get
me.
some out of
But
it.
would you
quite
not be
right.
absolutely gutted if he does? And then you're not on the reverse?
No, because I don't think he can, but I think he's better than the rest.
Picking poison there, got you. Picking poison.
Well,
We've
yeah.
got another social coming up. Carey Skates, a regular on the show, backing Nazif to place. A word for Nazif. Story of the season, Nazif? It's hard to name a more progressive horse, I think, than Nazif, who of course came good in the Sun Chariot
Well,
last
it's
time.
wonderful tonight.
Well,
Far short
wonderful
of that,
tonight.
to be
That's a
fair.
fair shout, actually. But Nazif, for me, my point is, she come from absolutely nowhere. Went into her 4-year-old campaign rated 93, came out at Kempton, beat Bilston Brook, came to Ascot, won the Duke of Cambridge, went back to and took out a Falmouth, got beaten at Goodwood, that was in a Nassau, probably didn't stay. I'm not sure what happened at Derville next time when I beat the favourite, but came out on heavy ground last time behind a half light, and as we know, likes this track. Nazif, don't be surprised if John Gosden, I mean, you would imagine that the yard thinks it will come second or third to it. Who we got? Green Rizzler. Green Rizzler smoking it with Nazif each way, and Palace Pier in a wind treble. Wonderful tonight and magical. Yeah, I know a few people that doubled up Glenn Shield, I'm hearing, with Wonderful Tonight. So Wonderful Tonight obviously was very popular in the ACCAs as well. We're all concentrating on the short ones. I think Palace Pier will just win. The Revenant, I think, is too short. I'd be worried about that coming a bit too soon for him. But Barry Orr does like the Revenant. So can we get the trade on for Barry?
Sure. What
and
does he want?
Betfair, please. Let's have a look. What did he want? Let's have a look. Win back the Revenant. Win back. So should we do the 25 again?
We'll just win, are we? Nothing else.
Win back. Just win.
I think we go 50. We need to get some money.
Okay, fine. So, and that
It's
will cover
50 a
us-
race.
us
That's
Palace Piers.
Barry's so senior at Betfair that he gets a bigger race allowance, doesn't he? So
He
we're going to
does.
go 50
He
on
does.
that.
We
okay?
saw his, yeah, absolutely. We saw
I
his
must
football trading
admit,
account once
Barry's
as
a
well,
better
didn't
judge than me, but I don't like the Revenant.
Second in the race last year.
Yeah, the only thing I do like about the Revenant is that the trainer said in his Racing Post quotes today, I would say with humility that Palace Pier is the best in the race. I thought, hang on a sec, mate, you're never going to cut it over here. A trainer with humility, I mean,
Yeah.
that's unbelievable. But it was so courteous. So for that reason,
I can see why you
I'd
picked
love
your
to see
defence
him
line
run
now.
well. But otherwise, no. I mean, I thought The Revenant was one of the worst films I'd ever seen, and I think this is one of the worst prices.
Do you know what? The Revenant, for me, apart from the bear scene, it was absolutely hard to watch. wasn't it?
Dreadful.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
pathetic.
Did you get
It
an
was
Oscar for that?
Yes, it was just a load of blokes staggering around in the snow, mumbling incoherently for about 2 hours. It was an absolutely dreadful
Yeah,
film.
great bear scene, though. Great bear scene. Let's give you a stat pack then for the QE2. you know what? I'm talking myself into seeing something really special here, I think, with Palace Pier. I hope they just let him go. Do you know what I mean? Alpine Stargy. I've got a feeling that you're taking him on, by the way. We haven't got your selection yet, have we?
Well, I
Come on. You're going to take him on, aren't you? Just cut to the chase.
I have, originally sent him in as a selection. But I just got this gut feeling about him that he's going to disappoint. I can't
Having
really
seen what you've seen on the card so far.
I've seen so far, there's been a few weird bits and pieces going on. And,
we're allowed to do that here on the show.
And we're really building him up. And everyone just seems to be saying he can't lose. And you know what happens when this sort of thing happens? They find a way to get beat.
Right.
I'm actually tempted to take him on now.
Well, come on then. What's going to get him beat? What? Because people will be thinking, well, okay, your gut feeling, Graeme Rodway's gut feeling. All right, fine. I know it's probably a big feeling, like I have when it comes to the gut. But what's going to beat him? Is it the draw? Is it the pace? What is the ground? He's been coming into it a little bit fresher than some of them.
So
Has he been over the top? Is it fragility? Come on.
You might be quite surprised that I kind of hate the idea that you have to have a strong argument for why you think this is going to happen and that's going to happen in life. You know,
You're a believer in sod's law.
I'm just very much a believer that the best way is your instinct. And a lot of the time that can be your best guide. And
it can be hard to articulate, can't it?
It can be very hard to make.
Like describing why a claim is called a claim.
It is very difficult to make a coherent case against Palace.
You've just got this feeling.
It's very difficult to make a coherent case against
you can't
Palace
say
Pier.
coherent, can you? So,
But what I would,
Spell it.
what I would,
He's not the editor anymore. We can get away with it.
what I would put to you is that it was very difficult to make a coherent case as to why Brando might win the Champions Sprint a couple of
Did you
years.
just have a feeling
He's
about
very-
Brando?
disagree. I fancy him strongly. 120.
That's happened sometime on the show today.
Oh, where was the strong argument?
Look, the strong argument is that he does pop up in big field sprints. Loves Ascot. Loves soft.
This
and
is
at
all.
120, you could have a go.
This
But
is all
if-
easy to say afterwards.
Well, I backed him. I showed you the bet. What do you want me to do? Anyway, what is the forensic argument why Palace Pier is not going to win this race?
Well,
You can't just have a
I
hunch.
did
And
try to
even if
ask
it's
him
a
that,
hunch,
really,
what's it based on?
it's based on the fact that we have seen some weird results here today already, I think, and we have got a horse here coming in off a fairly long absence, 62 days, on very testing ground, with the trainer already having had a disappointing runner at a short price.
So what? What's that got to do with it? Do you think they're all sick now or something? Because Stradivarius got chinned.
No, but
Well, good
I generally think in life that when things start going wrong for you, it tends to go that way,
So
not
he may
that
as well
way.
retire now.
No,
Gosden's finished.
No, but when you start having a bad day, like Gosden's already started having a bad day, he's going downwards now. Is he going to bounce back with Palace Pier?
G-Rod, how many times, right, have we gone into Cheltenham and after the first couple of days Mullins hasn't had a winner or Nichols hasn't had a winner
classic
and everyone
half-time.
says, oh, blimey, they're all running terrible. And then they come back next game and win, win, win. I mean, you're...
Yeah, but you're almost making my point right here. Because you're
By arguing the opposite.
by arguing what you just argued. What you're saying is, well, Mullins had a terrible first day. Yeah, everything went wrong, which is right. You know, he had a terrible day. Then he had a terrible second day. Everything went wrong. Yeah, but then suddenly he got a winner on the Thursday, and he was back on the up and everything. Now this is the same day, isn't it? So if everything's going to start going wrong from the first,
Yeah, but why...
It might just continue through the day.
Physically, is that going to happen?
I can't tell you why. I just think it will.
Look,
You
I mean,
just
there's
got that
vague
feeling. Well,
arguments and I'm refusing to back it up
I mean,
here.
there are instinct punters. But I'll tell you what, though, actually, there will be a lot of people out there, and if you are, do let us know. This is an interesting social line as well, isn't it? We're still waiting on some more Jockey 123 to come in, by the way. Out there, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. On Facebook Live, let us know. I know what you mean. Sometimes, as a punter, if you've not had a winner so far on Champions Day, and you're like, something's going to go wrong. I'm better off walking out. I'm going to take the dog for a walk, come back, watch the replay because otherwise, you know what I mean. There are sometimes you do get these funny feelings.
Well, and you'll often hear not trainers. It's like trainers, football managers, right? Football managers will play a game of football and they'll have like 25 shots on target and they'll hit the bar 5 times and they
Yeah.
go, just won our day today.
Just one of those days.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want it to happen to dear old Johnny. I want John Gosling to come out with a winner. Of
As
course
a
I
punter,
do.
do you have those runs? You know, when you have a nice winning run, and obviously they can't last forever, and anything you touch, you know, you're just like, actually, yeah, I could. You see the ball big, don't you? You know, and it starts going your way. Do you get them where you're like, that the second string had to beat the odds-on favourite? You know, things. It does feel like sometimes everything's out to get you a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like it's like momentum, isn't it? You used to hate the word momentum.
I do.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
The only
momentum
thing
is
Don't get him
false.
started on that.
the only thing that counts in momentum is things of actual speed, like motor racing, horse racing, skiing. That's the only thing where momentum is a thing. Mental momentum is nonsense. And I tell you what, I was going to do an experiment where I was going to take a month, watch as much sport as I normally do, and every time I heard a commentator say so and so or such team got the momentum, I was going to bet against them. Because it's
Something that you've not quite
it's
got off the
complete
bucket list
rubbish.
yet, I'm
It's
sensing.
complete. I just can't be asked. But yeah.
Which is a
I would
big
like
thing
to
in
do
punting.
it. I'd like to do it, but I hear it so much. To be honest, I'd be having 8 bets in a football match.
I remember when you homed in on momentum as
It's just
well.
nonsense. But
it was an interesting read.
what I do think, Dave, in terms of what you're saying about as a punter, I think confidence. This is what they mean. They mean confidence, and I think with punters, I always say that I'm at my most vulnerable when I've had a good day. So if I have a really good day and win a few quid, the next day I shouldn't have a bet because I suddenly
that evening.
because I suddenly think
Yeah.
I'm the greatest judge of all time and I can't do anything wrong. And you get that reality check so fast, don't you?
Yes,
It hits you
no,
hard.
I agree. And this is where responsible gambling, of course, comes into it. Take a deep breath. We were speaking to Ross Briley on the show last week, weren't we, Bruce? And he said he had a break after a painful September. And I don't know, having a break is something that's is not easy to do if you work in racing, first and foremost. But having a break, it does. Certainly, if I go on a losing run, for example, and the second favourite starts chinning your odds-on shots, you know, the third strings and all that sort of thing, you think it's a conspiracy with your bets or something. I do try and at least have a day off, actually. And I think when I come back, I think that works for me quite a bit, actually.
I think the key when you have that day off, and I think having a betting break is a brilliant idea, but what you've got to do when you're having a betting break is, if you look at the result, do not try and convince yourself that you would have backed this winner and that winner and that winner, because you wouldn't have done. That's the reality of it. So you don't beat yourself up like that. If you're going to have a break, go into it knowing that there might be some horses that are in your tracker or that you've been backing religiously are going to win. But that's the way it is. You should having a betting break is a great thing. It clears your mind. And you shouldn't be betting every single day, or it's just not right. It's not a natural, sensible thing to do.
I once mentioned that in I was the very early days when I was working for At the Races. I said, you can't really win betting every day. You need to be taking regular breaks. Oh, and I got absolutely slated
funny that, isn't it?
by some very very high-profile journalists at the time. Saying, well, what do you mean you can't win? You can't bet every day and win? I'll never forget
names.
it.
Who said it?
Well, let's just say I think he used to work for Channel 4 Racing, but might now be in Hong Kong or somewhere.
Oh no, I think he's at Ascot today, isn't he? I think you've got the wrong one.
All right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but no, I think that is something that she's got a point with. Professionals sometimes can call out professionals, can't they? And it's in any sport, in any walk of life.
Don't get me wrong, I don't have any problem with professionals coming out and calling me out. If the argument's valid, and I don't think I'm right all the time. That's for sure. But
I think you are right. I think you absolutely are right. So a betting break is what we're concentrating on there. So, but we're not doing that today. We're enjoying the playing. I haven't actually gone all in on anything yet. I would be tempted to here, I think.
Do you know what I've done? I've had a treble on the last 3 favourites. I wasn't too sure about the first 3. But I really like Palace Pier, really like Magical, and I just think Ryek will win the
Keep it
Balmoral.
simple. It wasn't half impressive, Ryek, wasn't he?
Yeah, really
at the course
impressive
just
last time. It was
so was it 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
You don't really want to be backing favourites at that sort of price in a big field, but I think sometimes there's a certain type of horse in those handicaps that is massively progressive. It's almost certain that they're ridiculously well handicapped. And that you've got to say to yourself, well, look, if it's 7-2, if that means if they run this race 9 times, he'd win 2 of them. Yeah, I'm happy to believe that's the case.
There you are. Absolutely.
I got a mate who works for a trading firm, and he reckons that the best system in racing is to back short-priced handicap favourites at big meetings. He reckons 9 times out of 10 they're just different class,
Yeah.
and that's why they're so short.
Exactly, and the handicapper can't rate them. There's a limit to how highly they can rate. They can't completely clobber them. The other thing is, a lot of them are from big stables, and I think that I'm not going to start besmirching handicappers. Going to do a really good job here, but I think sometimes some of these big yards who take out these handicaps, I don't know, they just.
Yes.
They're not viewed with the same sort of suspicion maybe as some of the more kind of smaller plot job yards are.
There has been an undercurrent
they get a decent
rising
bit
up
of
against that, Bruce, actually. I've noticed that on social media. I think a couple of trainers were quite vociferous about that about a month or so ago, actually.
You see
Opening handicap marks was topical.
do you see these favourites at Cheltenham every year in the handicaps? They go in
Gordon
one
Elliott's
after the
and
other. The Gordon
your
Elliott's
Gigginstown,
and what was that thing that won the Grand Annual? Was it this year?
A Plutoir was one. A
Plutar.
sorry, was one.
There
I
was that. Was it Simply the Bets or what?
Simply the Bets, the Harry Whittington horse.
There was the horse that Kills was
Handicapper
on.
can't do a great deal about these things, though, can he?
Imperial.
Again, placing your horses.
Imperial Aurora.
Aurora. There was
Imperial
another
Aura.
one.
Yeah.
Imperial
Yeah.
Aura.
I just think that your trading, mate, is onto something there, because you're gonna get times where you're gonna look at it and you can say, well, it's run badly, that, so I feel a bit of an idiot. But then you're going to be backing Lord North, who might win the Champion Stakes in the Cambridge, right?
He was beaten in the Balmoral last year,
was.
wasn't he, Lord North?
Yeah.
It was a chat I had earlier with someone,
Yes.
which we will sign off with here. 4:15. We're going on to
By
about
Escobar, who
4:30.
runs in this race, I think, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
Escobar.
He does.
You backed Escobar, by the way. He's a bit of a project of yours, Escobar. Have you-
No, I haven't. He got beat at Redcar on Monday, didn't he?
Should we have? Well, he tends to one of these. You know what? O'Mara, as he likes to be called. He's become a bit of a Mark Johnson, hasn't he? They just run all the time, his horses.
They do, yeah.
He doesn't mind, like a Gulliver,
Yeah.
who they managed to get up the hill all right, didn't they? Which was some hilarious comment I saw about your trainership. The had they plotted this out. But again, it's picking the right races. Let's go back then to the QE2. We digress. We digress. Sorry, we know you like to do that. Get your social comments in. Can we get a market update, Bruce? Is he holding around about the 11 to 8 on Mark?
Yeah, he is. 1.73. Palace Pier's kind of oscillated between 1.71 and 1.76. The Revenant's solid as well, and so is Circus Max. To be honest, this is, again, it's a really, really stagnant market. Everyone's had their opinions. There's nothing happening in terms of how they're behaving or misbehaving on the way down to the start. There's 3 horses here we haven't looked at who are all of the livelier outsiders. We've got 14 runners. We've got a kind of big 4 of Palace Pier, the Revenant, Circus Maximus and Nazif. But you've got Century Dream, Roseman and Lord Glitters. Out of those 3, who would you most like to back?
Century Dream, without question. Loves this ground. He went to Leopardstown last time, if you remember, and it just dried out there for him. That was by Unsafe Voyage, who seemingly couldn't win over a mile and did that day around the tough mile at Leopardstown. Forgive him that. He's a proper yo-yo horse, this. He was placed in the race last year. He had his ground. He's drawn in stall 12. James Doyle's on. The Crisfords, who have had some year as that training and some partnership, their targets are fantastic. He, for me, he's definitely my top 4.
It's the sort of race that, I can just see him winning.
Century Dream.
Just be like, how's that one? A bit like Brando if he'd got there.
What do you mean, how's that one? I've just told you why he'll go close. You've got an instinct that he might just win.
You're just backing up my instinct. No,
Fueling your fire.
I don't know. I've got a funny feeling there's going to be a weird result in this race.
Well, what is the weird result?
Yeah, I don't know.
Lancaster House.
I don't know what it's going to be, but I just got a funny feeling here.
Can you try and pin it down?
Yeah, which is going
You're
to be very hard.
like Fraser at a Dad's Army, but we need something a little bit more. We need a name.
I don't know. What about
Sabuska? Shall we mention him? He's won the Silver Hunt Cup. He absolutely loved the ground. He's got Oisin Murphy on. Connections are really hopeful of a big run, actually. No, the owners are local to me. And course and distance winner, like I say, he's run some big races. He's proved himself a group horse. If there's going to be a strange result, that might be the one for
What
me.
about a horse who it's almost impossible for him to run a bad race, doesn't mind the ground at all, and has got that kind of form that straddled handicaps and now gets him into group company, and that is Lord Glitters.
Yeah, well, he has taken out Queen Anne before, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I
Group 1 winner.
I said to Keels yesterday, I said I was expecting you to look at this and put him up, and Keel said, this is the kind of race with Paul Keeley and the judge like Graeme out there. You look at a favourite and you think, right, the straight mile at Ascot. Who's going to be the traveller that's going to come over late and get them? Remember when Keel's put an accidental agent in the Queen Anne a couple of years ago? It was for that sort of reason. Take him on. But Keel said to me, this is the star miler that we've been waiting for, and I just can't see him being beaten.
No, I can't. But I think we're talking more about each ways and places. Don't forget with
Has he
Betfair,
been quite on his A game, Lord Glitters? Is he now stuck between a mile and a mile 2? That would be the way I look at it.
Not really. I don't think so. I think an uphill soft ground mile is absolutely his wheelhouse. So I wouldn't worry about that. Right. And like I say, I don't think he's going to beat Palace Pier. I don't think anything is going to beat Palace Pier. And by the way, the runners are just going behind the stalls.
What definitely can't win? Dark Vision?
I refer you to Kevin Pullein, the wisest man in football. In any event, anything can happen. So there's no can't wins, okay?
Well, you got this long time which I went, that cannot win, because there's your instinct, there's your sod's law coming in.
Back to my Racing Post hat on. We never say will win, we never say won't win.
No. Should.
I'd be surprised if the Revenant is good enough. I don't think Nazif's good enough. I just think Palace Pier will win. He's out to 1.8 now, which is a perfectly good price.
Where's the Revenant in the market, Bruce?
He's 7.2, so he's clear second favourite, Dave. In actual fact, Nazif is challenging Circus Maximus for third favouritism now. Circus Maximus, not popular, but again, to give you an idea of the weird relationship between win and place, Circus Maximus you can back at 14 to win, and to be placed, to finish in the first 3, is 2 to 1. So
have we got any match bets? That's what
I'll tell you what. No, I'll tell you what we've got. We've got how far Palace Pier. This is good.
Oh, you love these.
We've got up to and including a length and 3/4, and that's 3.35, so a bit bigger than 9 to 4. We've got 2 lengths or more, which is 3.2, again 9 to 4, and then you've got Palace Pier not to win. Well, that's just a straight lay bet. So if you think Palace Pier is going to... Actually, do you know what? I could back Palace Pier to win by 2 lengths or more, 3.2. I'm going to do that now. I can't do it on this account because this is Barry's account, but you two have a little chat.
He'll be out there steaming somewhere. Steam coming out of this. Get him off that account. No, don't worry, Barry, we got you covered. No, my terrible Barry Orr impression. So, last couple going in while Bruce readies himself for a call of the QE2. Good luck! If Palace Pier is your pivotal acca horse, or if you've gone on him all in, listen, I hope we see a star performance. If you're going against him, plenty of angles in, hopefully we've given you. I think he's going to win by 2 lengths or more. I'm focused on it. You are the complete polar opposite of that.
Yeah, I'll just come around to the idea that I think he's going to lose, because
You still haven't said why.
Well, I've just come up with a new excuse.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
This might be one that, like, John Gosden trots out if he gets beat. It's like, I just see, sometimes you sit there and you look at a race on paper, I didn't realise there was quite that many in it,
Right.
No, I've never done that.
Sometimes
I've always acquainted myself with how many runs.
Didn't realise there was 40 in the Grand National.
Sometimes
I thought it was only 3.
Sometimes I sit there and I go, there's a lot more in that race than I thought there was.
I can understand what you said.
Yeah, look, there you go. There they all are.
Yeah, but when you actually see him in the flesh, he hits you, don't it? And this race might turn out a bit like a Royal Hunt Cup, This might get argy-bargy.
Are you suggesting that Frankie's going to go, there's 14 in here?
What's going on?
I do agree with that, Gerard, and I did actually say at the start that there is the possibility of some bad luck. And I'll tell you why as well, because the jockeys just insist on all racing on such a narrow strip of ground.
I'll keep it simple for you guys.
This is the biggest
Circus Maximus will lead, Palace Pier will get onto his back. Bruce, call them home in the QE2.
Almost off. They are off indeed in the QE2. I'm cutting out the early running there. It looks like it is Circus Maximus who's been sent to the front.
Keep it simple.
Roseman is going forward as well, and in the green colours, Century Dream. Where's the Fav?
He's out
right at the back.
He is. He's right out the back. Wow. Frankie's going for it with a very late run. Lord Glitters is also out the back and hasn't settled. It is a slow pace, isn't it? Wow, that's a really, really slow first sectional. Prominent down the near side is Nazif. Another one who's taken a really strong hold is Molak Tam.
What price has he gone for?
Frankie's now 2.24. I mean, I know that the Betfair market does love a hold-up horse, but wow, this is being held up.
Oh.
Okay, the pace has quickened, and in front is Roseman from Circus Maximus and Century Dream, and behind that is Nazif, and behind that is the Revenant. And then we've got Dark Vision. So Frankie has really got, he's pushing up, he's going to go down the far side, the outside of them. He's beginning to make his move now. as they reach the halfway stage, and he's really shown some acceleration in actual fact.
Nazif's
And he's
going well.
1.9 now. Favourite is just about Palace
Revenant
Pier, but the
travels.
Revenant is travelling very well. He's been pushed up there to challenge, isn't he, Frankie? But he's
confident,
much,
Frankie,
much
you know.
more confident now as the others begin to come under drive, except the Revenant, who's absolutely cruising.
madness.
And it looks like those two are going to battle this one out.
Oh,
it's
no.
Palace Pier on the far side. The
Roseman.
Revenant is cruising.
He's in
Roseman's
trouble.
given away in third. Palace Pier
no, the
and the
Revenant's got
Revenant.
him.
Palace Pier and the Revenant, they're the two, but Roseman's
no.
actually staying on brilliantly.
Roseman's
and in
in front
fourth
here.
place, we've got Cabaletta. Roseman is coming now. It's Roseman and the Revenant. The Revenant and Roseman. The Revenant is going to win this. Roseman's going to be second. Palace Pier is going to be third. Cabaletta is going to be fourth, but they're closing up again on the line. But the Revenant just about gets it done. Barry Orr, you are the man. 310 smackers. Well done.
Well done,
Something
Barry.
came stand side, guys. It was something decided to actually come stand side. We'll just see that coming through. Debrief coming. Frankie was actually having a look down in the final furlong, getting his excuses out. It looks like it's Sabuska that's gone down the side and has nicked fourth on the line. Sabuska, great run for them. Palace Pier, my goodness gracious me. Two things that I want to take out of this. Revenant, great training performance. Hadn't seen, obviously, when he came back on Arc Saturday, since being beaten in this race last year. They just kept him fresh for it, and they knew he'd have his ground. Kills made a good argument when I spoke to him yesterday. But again, all on Palace Pier. If you are a Palace Pier fan, what are you thinking now, Bruce? What's the debrief you're giving yourself? Why so far back?
The first question I'm going to ask myself is, why did Frankie have to come so far back? Why did he need to give him that much ground? He's really travelled impressively from that rear position to challenge. Let's see how short he got in the run. But it might just be that G-Rod's right. And he just might not be as good as we wanted him to be.
A nod to your instincts.
Yeah, well done, G-Rod. You couldn't quite
carried you
articulate
far.
why, but I think you probably were right.
You had no idea what
He
that feeling was about. But
He actually didn't. He didn't get very short in the run at all. It was the shortest he got done at is 1.68, which may actually have been pre-race. Let's see how short Roseman
the
got.
fact that Roseman stayed there, guys, tells you exactly what they did with the pace. So there it is. There was some love for Roseman with our social comments. Fair play. The Revenant 5-1 takes it out. Again, like Stradivarius in the first race, my initial instinct is here, a hot pot has bombed out, guys, and a horse that was beaten in the race fair and square last year has come out and done it. Roseman, massive run, giving Roger Varian a fillip, and Palace Pier only third today, the first time the great horse has tasted defeat. I think he got too far back. I think he was in the wrong place. I just think he got too far back.
He wouldn't have won though, would he?
He wouldn't.
Would he have won, G-Rod?
I don't know. The thing is, when these horses make these runs, remember on last week's show I put up one ruler in the Autumn Stakes. When I watched him the time before at Doncaster to correlate this, he made a huge mid-race move. Even so, almost in the Fillies and Mares today, watch that back. How much ground does she make up so quickly? It's so hard to do on soft ground to pull off those tactics. I know that Ascot is very difficult to lead on the mile, but that for me was probably a bit of ill judgment from one of the best, probably the best flat jockey I've ever seen.
And the front two have been given excellent rides, and kudos for Andrea Zeni on Roseman. I mean,
how good is Budo?
They're just
by the
simple
way?
rides, aren't they?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
They're simple rides.
Yeah.
But get the horse out the stalls with them. Don't concede soft ground at the start, and then you should be fine.
Who did they think was going to make the running, for example? I guess they thought Circus might go on a bit, but Ryan was happy to get a freebie. He's disappointed.
Circus has run badly, hasn't he?
Like he's over
It's
the
not
top a
like
bit.
him, is it?
Yeah.
He's not run.
And so Aidan O'Brien, 0 from 4 going into the Champions Stakes. So but obviously we've seen the hot pot there, magical.
He's
coming up.
in. This is the 10th Champions Day. How many winners do you think he's had on the previous 9 combined?
Aidan.
Yeah.
You're saying this like you know.
I do know. I counted it up. Yeah.
Like it's unbelievable.
Go on,
So,
G-Rod. Do you want to have a guess? It's only a
less,
game.
less than 9, so probably about 5.
Well, there's lots of other numbers less than 9. He's had 8.
Has he?
I kind of, in my head, I would have thought he would have had more than
I
that,
definitely
but
would have
yeah.
done. I definitely would have
I
done.
don't know, it's quite hard to win.
It is hard to win on those
Yeah,
days.
there's
isn't it?
only 5 races a day.
But you say
5
that,
group
Royal
races a
Ascot,
day.
we're used to them having, if it's like Cheltenham, at Royal Ascot, which we pre-mentioned on the show, if at half time at Royal Ascot, Aidan O'Brien hasn't had a winner, and Ryan Moore, they have had a couple of shockers recently. The pressure that gets to them, they're usually leading trainer and leading jockey without question, aren't they?
I suppose it is only 54 races. So he's won 8 out of 54 races. If you look at it that way, that's pretty good, with one of them being a competitive
them up.
handicap.
You counted them up. Well,
It's not difficult. There's
wasn't in
there's
the paper.
there's 6 races a day, and it's 9 years.
you went
9
through all of
sixes
them.
is 54. How long does it take? It's all on one page, Dave.
That's
I mean, I'd
remarkable.
love to be able to cheat and say, hey, that's what I'm like. I spend
I
8
wouldn't-
hours
but
researching the fact.
I don't
but-
have time. I wouldn't have thought.
well,
to have done
if that took me more than 2 minutes, I'd be surprised.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's why he was editor and I'm just an analyst, I suppose. But there we are. So there you are. He's won 8 races. Does that surprise you? He's shaking your head. That's like your Grand National stat and your Derby
My
stat.
Derby stat, yeah.
Anthony
Well, that's
Van
been
Dijk,
done,
by the
though,
way,
hasn't it?
chinned in
Yeah.
the Caulfield Cup.
He
this
ran
morning.
really well, didn't he?
Brilliant ride.
He ran really well, yeah.
Behind the filly, very elegant. And
Now,
Melbourne Cup.
Dave, before we shut the door on the QE2, there's a really interesting facet to that race. Sheen Murphy, 2 furlongs to go, decides to bring Sir Busker down the near side. He decides to test that strip. And what he's probably found is that it's really, really quick. So that is going to become a factor in the Balmoral for sure.
Big time.
Really,
So
really
high
is.
numbers, that is, of course. And low numbers, there's some strongly fancied horses over there. Most foremost, Raik, of course, is in stall 5 for Brian
I
Meehan.
bet you're going to see a ton of them come down and try and nab that side now.
You think so?
Well, they're bound to, aren't you?
Yeah.
Really interesting, that, I thought.
So Paul Keeley did say yesterday, if you were listening to him, wherever he was writing or the feature shows he was on, it will be fast to understand side. So, okay, Palace Pier, sunk. Stradivarius, sunk. Wonderful tonight. Went in, of course, and the sprint winner, who for some reason I've forgotten the sprint winner.
Glenn Shield.
Glenn Shield, of course. So what is it? We've had one winning fab so far, and it's now the time that we move on to the Pièce de la Résistance on RP Live, the Champions Stakes itself. Having a chat again between ourselves and some colleagues. This is a race, guys, that has been hit with a stick a couple of times, isn't it? For lack of competition, its place in the calendar, the ground. When it was at Newmarket, but this year, tell me if I'm wrong, it does look like a pretty deep race.
Yeah, although any time that Magical is 6-4 to win a Group 1, that always rings bells for me. Because
Why?
Why?
it suggests to me that there's not an outstanding performer in the race.
Yeah, there is. Magical.
Well,
She's not an
usually just
outstanding
able.
She's outstanding. She's brilliant, Magical.
No, she's not an outstanding horse. She's a very likeable,
No, she's brilliant.
lovely filly game as a pebble, but she is vulnerable to top class
Now,
performer.
let's hone in on this. Is this, you know what they say about American language, that they use words like brilliant too much? Wonderful.
Well, we
for
just
example.
said
Do
that-
you think that brilliant is just Frankel?
Well, we just said that Palace Pier was the second coming just a minute ago.
Well, we
did all right. All right. Keep milking it.
Unbelievable. It sees your old instinct over there. But what is brilliant? That's what I'm saying. Is it just Frankel? Is it See the Stars?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Is
outstanding.
Enable brilliant?
She is outstanding, yes, for me.
There you
So
go.
we're getting
And
variants
how
of
far,
brilliant.
how far
here.
behind Magical is Enable is Magical?
She's probably about 2 lengths worse horse, I would say.
Saying 2 lengths, you go from
You go
outstanding
from
to
being
average.
outstanding to being a good, very good, tough, genuine performer who always shows up to every gig. Gives her all, absolutely love the horse, and I loved her damn as well after Halfway to Heaven. She was a good horse too. But
Right.
she, for me, any race that she is 6-4 to win, that lacks a superstar in it.
I can't agree with that. I find it difficult to agree with that. I think that I think she is very. I mean, she's beaten Gaieth fair and square.
Yeah, well, why? If she is so good, why did she go off 9-2 to beat Gaieth in that race, and why did Gaieth go off really short to beat her?
That's not.
That's
her
not
fault,
her
is it?
fault, is it? She isn't standing with a piece of chalk in her hand, is she?
What price shall
Yeah,
I be today?
but the market's never that far wrong, is it?
It can
I
be.
mean,
It can be,
It's,
G-Rod,
it's
it
never
can.
that far
Can
wrong.
be.
It's
It can
generally,
be. I'll tell you what. The
generally
market.
speaking.
I'll tell you what does with the market sometimes is hype. Hype completely
So,
distorts
so,
markets.
so you're saying that before the Champion Stakes, Gaieth got overhyped
for the Champion Stakes.
before the Irish Champion
Oh,
Stakes.
for the Irish. Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
I think I might have made that argument on What a Shout.
Yeah.
She was something
this
on
is
it.
this is another classic G-Rod. He's having
He's
an
come
argument
out
with
with boxing
himself.
gloves on.
Yeah.
I think I might have made that argument on What a Shout just before that, saying there was no way Gaieth was the best horse
You're
in
a
the world.
one-man panel, aren't you? enjoy an afternoon of furious debate with Graeme Rodway and
Cheltenham
Graeme
preview
Rodway.
with
There's bound sparks will fly as Graeme Rodway
Are you
argues with...
rethinking this defence lawyer position now?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm hanging
Like
up my wig.
every good brief. You're
No,
out of
you
it.
were right about the trainers thing, but this is just classic G-Rod now.
Okay, so listen. All right, so
But then look, the point is that, and this is what racing snobs do, okay? They do this and they go, how good is this compared to the other years? It doesn't matter a toss. The point is an exciting, interesting race where you've got a ton of top quality performers who everyone knows and loves out there,
Yeah.
and punters can't wait to see wins and they can't wait to try and solve it. It doesn't matter whether it's any better than 2 or 3 years ago. Don't care.
She's vulnerable to a star, and there might be a star in this race.
well, before we get the selections and before we see what Barry's doing, and Barry's gone quite controversial on this, let me tell you, warm it up for that. Let's give you some stats out there for the big race of the day. Juicy stats for you then. Right, I promise you a controversial look at this race from Barry. Or should we get the market up on the screen and we can see where exactly Magical lies at the moment? There was a big drifter in this market, of course. It was Mishrif earlier on. It was the anti-post favourite. Would you believe it, looking at his price now? You probably, wow, it's massive. So we're looking at under 2 to 1. Barry Orr comes off the Revenant and he will be feeling confident about this. Bruce, can you please lay the first 3 in the market? He would be asking.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, the market.
The first 3 in the market.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind.
So, I mean, is it up to me how?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Okay, lay the front.
That's all I've got.
Right,
you do
okay.
the Dutch thing, don't you? Do you know how to do that?
What do you mean?
You do like Dutch, don't you? You can like click on them all
Well, there's
and
a
put in
Dutch
one
button.
stake, and then it splits it up for you.
Yeah, but that's
know,
if you're doing the whole field. I'm just doing 3 here.
No, but you can do it so you get 3 together and you just stick one stake
Do you want
in.
to take over, Carol Vorderman?
Is that an instinct that you can
Yeah.
Try it and see.
Well, so what am I doing?
Click-
Clicking on
click that.
3 lays,
Yeah.
and then what?
I don't
It's
know.
all gone quiet. You don't know.
He hasn't got
Thanks
an
for your help.
absolute Scooby.
The only reason I'm saying this is because I've seen Barry do it himself.
Right. Okay.
So if we had the maestro here,
Exactly. Barry, we miss you more than ever. Right. I'm going to lay.
More than you know.
I'm going to lay £40 of Magical,
Yeah.
15 of Mishrif, and 15 of Lord North. It'll probably completely
It's about
wipe
right,
out
said
all
the
our
gallery.
profits.
It's about
but
right.
I think that seems sensible. So if we get those done, we should get Magical done in a minute, and you'll see with the red figures on screen, we've already, Lord North loses us 93, Mishrif loses us 72, and when Magical gets properly done, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, just so that for illustrative purposes you can see what we're doing. I'm just going to chase up to 2.74 just to get the bet done. Right, okay, so the new figures, there we go. Magical loses us nearly 40 quid. Mishrif loses us 32. Lord North loses us 53. And any of the other 10 runners wins us 70 quid. I'd be interested to know what Barry's reasoning is here. But anyway, he's the man, he's the judge, so who are we to argue?
I would think, knowing Barry, I would suggest it's a price thing really, and he probably thinks it's a deep race, like I said. Let's have a word on Magical then. I did this hilarious thing where I looked at the race and I thought I might be able to find one in here. I forensically went through it and I came out on her on top. Do you know why I came out on her on top over a couple of others? It's because I thought it would be drier than it is at the moment, the ground. I thought with no rain since, appreciable rain since Thursday, on good to yielding, she's unbeatable. And in this race last year, the worry with her was the ground when she saw her for Dave. But Dave's going to love this ground. And I've got her on top, she's my selection, but this isn't an instinct. Hopefully I'm a bit more coherent than my esteemed colleague next to me. But I've got a horrible feeling about the ground. I can see her, I can vision her toiling on the ground a little bit. And at under 2 to 1, I'm reluctant to put her on top now.
Dave,
So
have you
I'm
been
changing my mind.
keeping your eye on the times? Because I must admit,
Yes.
I haven't. So what? You're the analyst here. You're
Yeah.
the forensic scientist of
Yeah.
the form book. What have you? What's the story of the clock?
So, hang on a second, I'm going up. So the last race on the round course was slow by 9.34 seconds, and that was the Wonderful Tonight. So it was quicker than the first. Obviously, in the stayers, they plodded a little bit, didn't they, on the far side. So I think that is it's soft to heavy, exactly what they're calling it. So I don't think Magical really wants this ground.
And obviously, they are racing a lot of the first 6 furlongs. No, the first 8 furlongs of this actually going to be on the round course,
on the
aren't they?
horrible ground.
So
yeah,
there's
if you like.
most of the race, nearly
For-
3/4 of it, is on the worst ground.
If
isn't
I
it?
was a layer now, I would be sensing, having looked at this ground, I would be sensing, well, you can see who's coming up next. I would be sensing that that Magical will, at some point, will spin a little bit. I'd be slightly worried about Lord North on that front as well. And I'm just getting ready to back a Dave each way because I think he can't possibly be out of 3, having seen the ground now. So I think Magical was the right favourite, and I was keen on her, but that was, in my mind, I thought it would dry a little bit.
I want to hear G-Rod on a Dave because I've heard him before. It's good.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem is that I
you
actually
said something about him, didn't you?
I actually do fancy Lord North a little bit, but having said that, I mean, I cannot have a Dave at all. I mean, he's absolutely smashed up by Lord North in that race, the Princess of Wales Stakes, and as I said, I think a few weeks ago, that is probably the worst Group 1 run all season.
Which one?
The Prince of Wales Stakes, won by Lord North. I mean, Barney Roy, I think, has come out and won since, but it was a German Group 1, much weaker race. Japan
Shaking his head at the German.
has beaten hardly anything. I mean, I think it's Japan beaten an all home since that race.
No, the wheels have come off.
Japan actually ran okay, didn't he? Somewhere. I can't think
Did
where
he?
it was now.
Was
yeah.
he 5th in the Arc?
I think he ran all right.
He was
in the
5th under
didn't he? Yeah.
Yutakataki, wasn't
Well,
he?
but the
Which
5th
was an upturn in his form.
The Bangkok, who finished 5th, went on and finished last next time behind Gayaf. We just seen Madai run in the filly and mare, get well stuffed there.
I don't know about well stuffed.
Oh, she
had a chance. What are
finished
you on
fourth.
about?
Well, I backed her. I was disappointed with
Yeah, well,
her.
you're just bitter.
That's
then, aren't
pocket
you?
talk.
Yeah.
At least he's admitting it.
Let's mic up
And,
Graeme Rodway's pocket so we can hear it a bit more clearly.
and Headman was last, hasn't run since. So that was pretty poor Group 1 form. And to me, there's no way a Dave's a Group 1 horse. He's not a Group 1
What
horse.
are you talking about, man?
He's not a Group 1
Do you know
horse.
the horse that he beat down in Australia when he won his 2 Grade 1s?
This won't impress
Well,
him.
he beat the same
You
horse,
could
didn't
say
he?
Winks, he wouldn't be impressed.
It was
very,
very elegant.
very
It was
elegant.
very elegant. Who today, this morning, beat Anthony Van Dyke in the Caulfield Cup.
Yeah,
as the
because
second Grade
Anthony Van Dyke's a superstar, isn't he?
But,
I mean,
listen, actually,
come on.
while we're on this point, you've got to need to get your head above the clouds a little bit with this. There was an argument this morning, I was watching Australian television, and they were saying they have sent one of their greats down to run in our Caulfield Cup, and I thought, whoa, hang on a minute. He's a Derby winner, and he was second to Gayeth, right? It's hard to argue that Anthony Van Dyke, having beaten Stradivarius at Longchamp, is not one of our very best middle distance horses.
I'll tell you what as well.
You laugh, but who's better than him?
I'll tell you what
That's
as well, Dave.
laughable.
That Coronation Cup form this year is really, really interesting, isn't it? Because you've got Gayeth won it by half the track. Anthony Van,
Smashed the track
they all
record.
finished with ridiculous wide
Yeah.
margin intervals, didn't they? So Gayeth won by half the track from Anthony Van Dyke. He beat Stradivarius by half the track. I think Broome was 4th. Then you were looking at Defoe and probably Desert Encounter running it because he's running everything. It was sort of a
am I
really
missing
interesting race to
something
look
here, or
back
what?
on.
Am I missing something here?
How many better male middle distance horses are there than Anthony Van Dyke?
Off the top of my
You're
head.
going to need your instinct to come good here.
Well, he's not that good, is he?
What I'm saying is, G, when they first said that, I went, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not
Not
sure.
that
but
good.
I started thinking to myself, actually, hang on a minute. It's actually quite hard to reason against.
Are we just right? I got to get
disappoints
this right.
at Ascot.
Who are you
Hold
tipping?
on,
Who are you
hold
tipping,
on.
G-Rod?
I got this right. Are we suggesting that Gayaf, Anthony Van Dyke, and a few others are absolute top class horses?
I think Gayeth was, is one of the best horses in the world.
Gayaf comes into the magical. He's very, very good without being anything special, isn't he? I mean,
Earlier in the year, it would have taken an absolute worldie to beat Gayeth.
Have you had a bet, G-Rod?
I think that
It's that magical.
No, I know the one you like in this. Come on, didn't you? But I saw a company email going around yesterday, and it had Mishriff attached to it.
I have backed
Here we go.
See, there's a problem. I don't like backing 2, but I have backed 2 in this race, and I explained this to Bruce earlier.
Might that pocket up for afterwards.
I explained this to Bruce earlier in the day. I said, right, now I hate backing. I don't think I said I hate backing 2, but you know I hate backing 2 in a race. But like, for me, there's no way Lord North can be 5-6 to 1.
He's 8 to 1 on Betfair.
8 to 1.
Behind Magical last time at York, in the comments in your paper today and in your members club, John Gosden says, most of it's about Mishriff, by the way, he actually says that James Doyle got off him and said he was wheel spinning at York. Now, this is a horse that's got no problems with soft or heavy ground.
That sounds like a classic sort of excuse, doesn't it? That we hear coming out of a lot.
This was a spare that James Doyle, of course, picked up. James Doyle is the spare man at the last couple of years. Crystal Ocean, etc.
This essentially is my argument. Lord North's got, for me, albeit I think it's the worst Group 1 of the season, I think that's the best form in this race. Right? I don't think it's a very good race.
So you're taking Magical out, obviously, when you're saying that.
No,
Magical and Enable at the Breeders' Cup, for example. Magical Gayeth, you think is
this season.
Yeah.
This season, Lord North has got the best form in this race, even though he won a very poor race for a Group 1. He won it by so easily that is still, for me, better form than Magical's shown this season. Yet Magical is 13 to 8 and Lord North is 6 to 1. So for that reason, you've got to back Lord North. Right. But then you sit there and you say to yourself, because you just said, and you're right, James Doyle's your spare man, isn't he? Now you sit there and you think, well, if you think Lord North's got the best form in this race, Frankie could definitely have ridden him.
It is an interesting point, this, Bruce, isn't it? Why is
I
Frankie...
don't know, why is his point? I'm about 38.
His instinct is telling him that Frankie perhaps should have had a look at Lord North, who, of course, won the Cambridge.
My instinct is telling me that this Mishriff is a much better horse than Lord North.
When we had Tony Ennis on the show, and he told us prior to this winning the French Derby, this was one of the best 3-year-old colts in Europe.
I call him Mithriff. I just don't think he's that good. I just don't agree.
Yeah.
Look, I just think that those 2 lines of form, the French Derby and the thing afterwards, I don't think he'd beat anything. He might be good, but he's as like you with Palace Pier, the form's not there in the book yet.
He beat the same 2 horses.
You're assuming he's going to take 4 steps.
There is one key difference between Mishriff and Palace Pier. And Palace Pier was 8 to 13. Mishriff is what?
It is.
6.6.
It's a monster drift, isn't it? It's bearing in mind it was 5 to 2 at places earlier in the week. Listen, one guy that disagrees with G-Rod, not just the public out there. Here he comes, Paul Keeley.
Magical's a worthy favourite for the Champion Chokes, and she will be hard to beat on her bid to win it for a second year in a row. I certainly think she should be favourite ahead of Mishriff, who's won the French Derby and another Group 2 in France, but hasn't come up against any older horses. Only one 3-year-old colt has won a Group 1 in France, Britain or Ireland this season, and that's Palace Pier. And in general, they are a poor bunch. He's got plenty to prove for me, and I'll be taking him on. Like I said, Magical is the one that's most likely to win, but Lord North is a silly price based on his Prince of Wales form earlier in the season when he won very, very easily from a Dave. He handles soft ground, we know that. He's a very, very good horse. I'd make him second favourite. And while you may be surprised that Frankie Dettori is riding Mishriff instead, bear in mind that James Doyle normally rides him anyway, and I think he'll ride him to run Magical at least very close.
Yeah, it's a price thing for Kills, and Lord North just looks like he loves Ascot, doesn't he? And certain to run his race. So he's kind of agreeing with you there, actually. I thought he was disagreeing with you. So is it Mishriff on top of Lord North for you?
Yes, it's Mishriff and, well, Lord North. Yeah, but they're the same price, aren't they?
What price did you think you'd be backing Mishriff at?
Well, I thought we were looking at about 7 to 2 would be a good price, so now we're looking at around 7, 8
As I was
to
coming
1,
in today, a punter rang me that I know, and he said, why on earth, Dave, is Mishriff 5 to 1? I don't get it. Didn't mention Stradivarius being odds against. It was Mishriff. So this is a horse that, of course, with the John Gosden, his juggling act, was never going to run in the Arc. Somebody said, why didn't he run in the Arc then? Because, he's a French Derby. Well, because of Enable mainly. And could they be looking now at winning this and then going to the Breeders' Cup, perhaps, with Mishriff?
Does he want soft
one step at a time, David?
Well,
who's going to win this? We haven't had your tip yet, have we?
As I said, I've got Magical on top, but I cannot get a Dave out of the frame. Bruce?
I've just gone Magical. Keep it nice and simple. I have had one silly little place bet, and that's Pile Driver, who we can talk about in a minute, because I think we've got a social, haven't we?
Yes, we have, and we need to talk about Pile Driver. We have got a social, indeed, coming up. Who is it? Let's have a look. Connor's Aviation Videos. Anyone before? Nobody's talking about Skeletti.
It's totally right. We do need to, because he's
Yeah.
very solid in the market.
I
He's
can
9-1 fourth
I can
favourite.
wax lyrical about Scaletti, but let's talk about Pile Driver quickly first.
Okay, well, look, I mean, I think in the Ledger, I think it wasn't the most fantastic ride. He covered a lot of ground up that home straight. Now, you could say that 1 mile 6 is the natural progression for him after what he's been doing, and that 1.4 is now his optimum trip, and therefore 1 mile 2 is going to be on the sharp side. But I'm not one of those people who gets too hung up on trips, and going back to Australian racing, they're all over the place there, and they tend to run okay. I give as the example, you can't really equate humans and horses, but Mo Farah does 5,000 and 10,000 perfectly well. You've had 400 and 800 metre runners in the past. I just think people get far too hung up on the trip, and I think Pile Driver will make this a really good test, and I think he'll run a decent race. I'm not saying he's going to win, but he's a horse who's confounded people before. Yeah. He likes Ascot, so I've just had a little place bet on him.
I have to say, he was on my radar a little bit. He's 1 from 1 at Ascot, of course, having come to the Royal Meeting and won soft ground, not a problem. What did we make of the St Leger run? A couple of people, they said he didn't stay. Well, Martin Dwyer got off straight away and said it was too far, but I don't know. I thought that was Martin, of course,
too
made
far
that,
once he made that move.
He made a move,
straight,
didn't he?
Yeah.
It sounded like a jockey getting off and trying to come up with reasoning for why he'd done what he'd done. I thought he got the trip fine. The St Leger was a race that we were hoping might be next year's race, if you like. We were waiting for the middle distance horses to show up. I got the feeling that might be it. Santiago's going to have a crack at the Melbourne Cup. He's gone down. Odie, who's also running that. Bart Scirocco come out and won, albeit a bit workman-like in a race he had to. It could still prove to be a decent race. Any love for Pile Driver, G?
I think that he's the sort of horse you want to back when he's a good price in this sort of race, and he's not the sort of horse you want to back when he's favourite for the Ledger, for example. Like Bruce says, he seems to be one of these horses who has a habit of confounding people just when you think that you've written him off.
Or bar Tom Sakala got him completely
who gets him right every time.
And then, of course, we've got the Derby winner in here, almost as an absolute afterthought. This is the Derby winner. Here we are 3 months on from the Derby, and Serpentine is the same price as Pile Driver, currently 18. It's extraordinary, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and Ryan Moore seemingly doesn't fancy, obviously he's got to... I thought that Serpentine would be going to the Breeders' Cup. That's what I'm trying to say. I didn't think it would be Magical. I thought this would be a sign-off of Magical. I thought after his last trial that would be going there. Ryan Moore does try and tell them which races to go for.
Answer me this, though, Dave. If all of a sudden Serpentine jumps out and he's 5 lengths clear after 2 furlongs, what price does he go? Because we know he stays there, don't we? So he's an interesting trade there.
And you have to think about who else might try and take him on. Extra Elusive under Holly Doyle, drawn 3. Expect that to be up there. He came good when they switched tactics there. Apart from that, there's not a great deal in it.
It wouldn't be the first time that Ryan Moore has been on the wrong one, would it?
No.
Now, in fact, even though Magical's such a great horse, Ryan Moore decided he was going to ride Japan.
The Dewhurst is a great case in point
the Irish champion
last Saturday. Can we talk about Scaletti?
We better had, hadn't we?
We have to,
yes.
Yeah. I wrote up his dollar run in the paper, if you were reading that, and tried to decipher what had happened. It's a race that he won last year, the 5-year-old. They brought him to a boil. He loves deep ground, and he loves this trick. Interestingly, I chatted with Kills about this yesterday when we were together. He's never been run in the Group 1 before, and that put Kills off. But I don't know, he's a 5-year-old. He's a weird horse, this. But he won that dollar. He beat Patrick Sarsfield, a horse of Joseph O'Brien's. Is he reopposing this? No, he doesn't. He was jocked. He was entered at the 5 days. It was amazing how he got his jockey out of trouble. It's Boudot. He comes on a quick double here. Scaletti is the one. I haven't backed him, but I did write in the paper. I think that he should take up his champion's option. He will be ridden completely cold, and do not be. He's got an electric turn of foot when they let him go, and he can get out of trouble. That if you haven't seen that dollar, you've got time to watch it back because they're going down. Watch it. You'll find the replay out there. How on earth does he win? It was a huge punt on Arc Saturday. An Arc Saturday form, as we've seen. I think they're on a treble now, Arc Saturday form, aren't we? Wonderful tonight. The Revenant, and this would complete the treble. Massive boost for the Arc Saturday meeting. Scaletti, for you out there, Connor's Aviation Videos. He's a runner.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Keeping it succinct as ever. Super. Well, who was the one we were talking about before that? Because we need to give them all a mention here.
Well, Serpentine.
Serpentine. Sure. So, come on, what do we make?
Japan's the other one, okay? I know he's been monumentally disappointing this year. He has, hasn't he? But, he's the horse who Aidan was saying he needs 2 runs to get right, then 3 runs, then 4 runs. This is his 5th run now. The 5th in the Arc... I still take the art with a bucket of salt, never mind a pinch. But it was a better performance, and on his best form, he kind of enters calculations. But at the same time, if G-Rod's calling this one and he calls Japan the winner, then I'm still scratching my head.
I just don't think that he is a mile and a quarter horse. I know he's won a Juddmonte International, but he absolutely fell over the line in that race, in a race that I don't think was very strong. I think he shapes more like a mile and a half horse. I don't think that he'll have the speed for this. But
did you find it interesting, though, that Ryan Moore was on him in the Champion Stakes, for example?
Well, I had no idea what was going on.
They must have a lot of faith in this horse.
Because of market
I wonder
went
whether
against
that
him.
might just be because they'd sold a big share to the Japanese owners, whether they were kind of
commercial
keeping
decision.
faith there and just letting them know that, you know, they have bought a decent horse. But he didn't run that badly in that.
Before the race, I think we may have been in here with Barry doing the show, and Barry was suggesting that he thought what might happen was they would run Magical as a pacemaker to pester Gaiath, and they would try and
who was
set it
going to
up
get Gaiath at it. Well, that's what they did
for Japan. But as it was, they did do that, which didn't surprise me at all.
He's just been a little bit laboured, and he's not been the horse that we all thought he was going to be. What's the market saying, Bruce?
Magical is friendless, 2-1, 2.98 Magical.
I'd be certain that's because of the ground.
Mishrif 5.8, Lord North solid at 7, Skeletti well backed 8.4, Adib solid at 11.5, Serpentine's out to 21. Japan is 26. There's been a bit of money for Holly Doyle, extra elusive. That's been done at much, much bigger prices.
So it's quite interesting. The money's coming back for Mishrif now.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's probably, I think this, again, that's a how big can you let it go off at, surely. I mean, again, he's the one that comes in a little bit fresh for this, isn't he? Well, let's talk about Serpentine if we can, guys. Was beaten last time in the Grand Prix de Paris behind Mogul, who, of course, he was way ahead of in the Derby. But In Swoop has come out of that race, the Grand Prix de Paris and Gold Trip, and they both made the frame, albeit in a falsely run R. In Swoop was a little bit unlucky, really, the way that was turned out. It was a good race, is what I'm trying to say. What do we make of that Derby now? Because that was the one race of the year, I think we can all agree on, that everyone was like, was it brilliant or was it just a complete red herring?
Tripe.
Complete tripe.
Yeah, you'd have to say that, wouldn't you, G-Rod? I mean, name the horse that's come out of the Derby or, you know, you need 3 or 4 horses to come out and have progressed and got better in order for the Derby to have any kind of value.
Well, Mogul's won.
Yeah, all right, Mogul's won.
QIPCO.
Well, I mean, QIPCO was that was a kind of guest appearance, if you like, wasn't it? I mean, you know, that's a miler going
Pile
down.
Driver was in the Derby.
Pile Driver was in it, but you know, there's not too many. I mean, the second and third.
The one thing you would say about the race is that he did win it by 5.5 lengths.
Yes, I agree with that. I do agree with that. So what I'm saying is that although I have a low opinion of the quality of this year's Derby, you could, because he's only had the one run, you could excuse him on that. And it might just be that he could come out here and surprise again. So if you wanted to have a silly couple of quid on Serpentine, I wouldn't put you off, okay? But I mean, Dave, do you have much of a view on the Derby? It didn't look great, does it?
No, and it was just one of those weird races where a lot of jockeys thought he was going to come back and he didn't. But my point was, is he that brilliant colt that a lot of people said, well, hang on a minute, the time was okay and the form might still
almost all in, by the way.
Well, I think we're going to find out here, basically, and I think we can agree he's going to be up there. So,
you want me to take this one?
2020 Champions League. Graeme Rodway is going to take the call.
You excited, G-Rod?
Yeah, this is my
it's
forte.
It's been an odd year.
Your forte?
Yeah, I'm really good at this.
At what?
At commentating. Did you not hear the last one?
No, go on. Away you go.
And they're off.
Good so far.
And
you've got to speak. What, you miming it?
Yeah, Adib is going towards the lead, and here comes Serpentine. Here comes Serpentine. So it's Serpentine from Adib.
Yeah.
Oh, Mishrif's in third, pulling a little bit. In fourth is one of the Coolmore horses.
Magical.
The favourite.
The favourite. Fifth is Lord North.
Bit keen, Lord North.
That's
Skeletti coming up the inside.
Well, he's a lot more prominent than he usually is, Skeletti. Budo knows that he can't come from too far back.
He seems to be getting a fairly easy lead here, Serpentine, would you say?
Yes, he's not gone as hard as he did in the Derby, has he?
Well, there's a few hard pullers in behind. Skeletti's pulling now.
Look out the back, G.
Miss Riff is pulling.
Extra Elusive and Pile Driver both keen. I'm doing your job for you, I really shouldn't.
Magical is still travelling quite nicely in midfield, North just behind him. And that's Japan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seems to be going well. I know that the taps haven't been turned on yet. Pile Driver's right out the back with Extra Elusive and Desert Encounter. He's an
What's the
old
market
rogue, isn't
saying,
he?
Bruce? Because they haven't gone very hard, have they?
6.05 Magical. It's really as you were, to be honest. There's not too much to report, except that Dave is much shorter now at 6.8. Back to Graeme Rodway.
He's trying to wind it up in front on Serpentine, pushing a few buttons. Dave's still travelling well.
He's going to want to make it a test, isn't he? Will
Scaletti's travelling well in third. Mishriff just behind him in
4.4
fourth.
Magical.
She's going to need to be some...
Magical travelling well, but in a bit of traffic. She's going to need some
Japan's
run.
going all right.
Yeah, Japan's travelling really nicely.
Scaletti will deploy the turn of foot off the home bend.
Scaletti's going to need a helicopter. Is he going to get the run? Scaletti, he's travelling well. It's coming down the
sprint
business.
is on.
Scaletti on the rail.
Come on, a Dave.
Spaghetti's coming
Spaghetti?
through. Here comes Spaghetti.
Alphabetti Spaghetti. Come
Oh,
on, a Dave.
staying on well. Adabe is grinding this out.
Come on, Adabe.
Magical's in trouble.
Come on, Tom Marquand. This is your big
Adabe
moment.
is pulling clear here.
Come on, a Dave.
Adabe from Spaghetti.
I'm on it for bundles. Come on, a Dave.
Magical's finishing off quite well, but
Come on, a Dave.
she's not going to get there. Adabe's going to win it. Adabe is clear and going further clear. Scaletti and Magical for second. Adabe wins quite well. Second, Spaghetti. Third, Magical.
Spaghetti. I'd love to hear him say the alphabet, wouldn't you?
tell you what,
Graeme Rodway, that was a massive improvement on the race that we gave you last
came
Friday.
on a ton there, didn't he?
He came on a ton.
Came on for the run.
Now
No lost Bridie, but
the atmosphere in the Marquand stroke Doyle household tonight is going to be a lot better, because Tom Marquand would have been sitting there going, yes, well done, Holly, yeah, you were great, yeah, hang on, it's your auntie on the phone, yeah, well done, I've just passed you over. But he's just taken out the Champion Stakes as well.
Yes.
So they're going to go out tonight and have a great night. Ratings golden couple.
do you think they will? Because apparently this is what she was saying in the Daily Mail, Holly Doyle in her spread. She said that 5-timer, we just had an early night with the next day to go up for. It's like she was too professional almost. You know, where the Kevin Fallon's, where the, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
Good time Charlie's not. I don't think so. I think they might be having a cup of Horlicks or something like that. I'm not sure.
Fair enough. But
yeah.
anyway, the bank balance has gone up a bit today, hasn't it?
I have to say that was a bit of a plus, and I needed it to be
Well
honest.
done, Dave.
Yeah,
I was talking
good
about
shout,
Tom
Dave.
Marquand and Holly Doyle's bank balance, but I'm sure yours has as well.
Well, look, I think if I've got to get one race right, but I thought Scaletti would run well, and well done, Connor's Aviation videos out there. You knew he was going to run a big race. Pierre-Charles Bidot there, by the way, has just shown some brilliance. That is a horse that in almost all of his races so far, he's been ridden right out the back. He knew you had to be up there. And it was a race where Magical, I said turning in, if you go back, on that ground, it's so difficult to make up even 2 lengths. It was a bit of a sprint for home. And Adabe has come out on top. Brilliant, goes one better than when he beat Magical last year. Tom Marquand punching the air. Is there a better jockey out there at the minute? We want to know your 1, 2, 3s. Scaletti, Pierre-Charles Bordeaux. He's got to be up there, hasn't he? And Magical. Oh. It's going to be, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a lot of hopes riding onto Keats, aren't there, for the Aidan O'Brien camp in the Balmoral. One more race to come here. Now, sometimes you enjoy going back and going back to what people said. And I'm almost feeling a little bit like I don't know. I don't want to kick him out when he's down. But what did you say about Adabe coming in? I mean, it's all out there, so you know.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes in life, and particularly in racing, you have to accept that you get a few things wrong. And
Palace Pier, you got absolutely right. So let's not go too heavy on him. We were all thinking that was.
No, there's no doubt about it. Adabe has obviously proven there that he is a Group 1 horse, but we're no doubt going to keep seeing him coming back. Would you say? I mean, he's a gelding, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just a fantastic horse. I'm so happy for William Aggis and the team. Aggressive campaigning. Do you remember in lockdown when we had no racing whatsoever? Adabe kept the candle burning for us by winning 2 Grade 1s down under.
And don't forget, we need to doff our hats to the remarkable Barry Orr. Laid the front 3.
Laid
Got
the
the
front
money.
3
Well
in the
played,
market.
Barry. Absolutely superb.
The charity must be doing
Charity
very
must be
well
doing
today.
very well indeed.
Do you think he's in the kitchen doing the cooking? Like he was last Saturday, and his missus told him to get off Twitter.
Oh, is
he
that
was
what
enjoying his wine before pre-dinner.
Oh, I don't know.
I think corks will be being popped in the Orr household. We're just watching back the replay here.
A couple of things I would say, okay. Magical has run really well with a lot going wrong for her. She had a really bad passage. She's run well. You know, the winner's the winner, and that's absolutely fun, but she's run decently. And Serpentine has stayed on okay.
The
Gosden pair, Lord North and Mishriff, no good at all. It's been a miserable day. It's been a terrible terrible day for Gosden, hasn't it?
Let's go back and let's give G a bit of credit there, because you said sometimes these camps, when they have bad days, Aidan O'Brien as well, you could say naught from so far. You said a couple go close, and Magical has run a really, really good race there. You also said she wasn't brilliant. I suppose a brilliant filly would have overcome that in your mind, and I can understand that. What do you think about that? A couple of things you have said have come to fruition. You're right. You latched onto the fact it could just be a bad day for Gosden. What did you make of Lord North and Mishriff there?
Well, Lord North hasn't been the same horse, has he, that we saw beat a Dave here so easily in the summer on soft ground.
Yeah.
Same course and
summer
distance.
soft ground though, isn't
That's
it?
right, it's slightly different.
This
but
chap loves it when it's heavy. I was worried about him in the week. I actually said to Keels yesterday, we were in the morning, I said, what's the going stick, Keels? You know, as we said, pre-mentioned on the show, loves a bit of that. I said, is it going to be soft enough for a Dave? That's what worried me. And that's why I have Magical on top. Honestly, I would have had a Dave on top otherwise. And hopefully pre-race, I explain why you can change your mind when you see cards going across. The whole difficult thing about being in Tipster, as G knows, is when you're doing the 48-hour decks, you're doing spotlight writing or anything like that, you've got to know your colours to the mast before you really know what the weather's done. And the ground conditions, that's a moot point, but in this race and this day in particular are playing a massive part in it.
Absolutely, and tipping, being a tipster before the day, 48 hours, 24 hours in advance, however far in advance you're doing it, it's very difficult. Like, you start to get a feel for the day when you start watching the races. You get a feel for how the ground's riding. You get a feel for when you start seeing early on in the day, for example, some of the results that we were getting in the first race, the second race, and Glen Shields, and your Dream of Dreams being beaten, and your hot favourites being beaten, and Stradivarius being tailed. And you start seeing things like that happen, then you do start in the back of your mind going, something doesn't look right here.
And you smell...
Is the ground really, really bad? Is it, because there's definitely been some weird results today.
Yeah, there have, absolutely. It's Champions Day, isn't it? On bad ground, it can happen. But that, I think that we can say it was a really, really deep race. I'm so happy for a Dave. The reason also why I liked him, Ayr last time, they struggled to get a prep race into him. They couldn't find the ground. They went to the Ayr Gold Cup meeting for the Doonside Cup. You know, it was a listed race. We had a £7 penalty.
It's a good race, wasn't it?
What Yukon Glen came
beat
out.
Yukon, who
yes,
then came out and won, yeah.
Great, or Yukon Glen, albeit that Logician didn't turn up in that. Still showed himself to be a proper Group 3 horse. And he had a penalty. The ground had dried up, but they still let him have his chance. He found trouble in that, and he still won. And that's when I thought, you know what, he's just such a tough, good horse. If the others blow out, he will win. And Magical got away with the drying surface in this race last year. She didn't here today. So I think that would be my post-race debrief there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you just couldn't have done it any easier.
No, absolutely. So look, wow, what a magical day it was. Not if you were constantly on the favourite there. How have you been going with your punting? Still time to let us know. We've got one more, the 4:15 coming up. Plenty of time for us to chat about that. Get your socials in here. Hashtag RP Live. If you're watching on YouTube, do not forget to subscribe and like the feeds. That's what the guys in the gallery love. And if you're on Facebook Live as well, hello, get your socials in for the team.
I'll tell you what, Dave, at the start of the show, we flagged up those four not good things, but strong favourites all turned over.
Every
all
single
four.
one. Oh. So a layer's day.
Yeah.
Just the one fav.
One fav, and that was the 4-1 wonderful tonight.
Wonderful tonight. David Manuzio, what a story that. I'll tell you what, it's going to be a great paper to read tomorrow, guys, isn't it?
Yeah,
and your members section tonight, of course, you'll see it all, get your analysis in your quotes. And
also previews of some good racing on Sunday. We've got 2 listed races at Kempton. It's always a good meeting, that one, the day after Champions Day,
isn't it? Always freaky, and again, we've been talking about this here at the Racing Post. Well, it's always nearly good to Firm there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just down the road from
Ascot.
It's
incredible. It's absolutely amazing.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
Best ground in Britain, according to Nicky Henderson. Yeah.
Well, it is that listed hurdle, of course. Was it Catch It one there a couple of years ago, wasn't it, before he went on?
Yeah, the new one used to
new
win.
one.
New one used to turn up there, didn't he? So look, we're about to switch. We're about to switch to the jumpers, but we have one more big weekend for you of flat racing, because it's Doncaster. We'll be covering that Vertem Futurity. We're calling it Vertem Futurity weekend, but it's, of course, Cheltenham comes back to the party without crowds. Should we have a little chat about this now? I know we've sort of avoided COVID on the last couple of shows, haven't we? Last time we did Cheltenham, of course, we didn't see each other again. We didn't see you till sort of August. You know, myself and Bruce came in June. Cheltenham's coming back. Obviously, no crowd allowed in. Probably, certainly the topical decision is right there.
I don't think it is.
Well, I know we're going to get to this.
What's
Let me say my piece, and then we'll get to it. Let me say my piece. This morning in Australia, they let 11,000 back in at the Royal Randwick for a Group 1 day there for the Everest. It was. Do you know what? It was. I got up for that. And the highlight of it for me was hearing the winner come back in to all the cheering. It was weird. It was a bit odd. And it was really, really good. In Victoria, they let a few back in Caulfield as well, not so many though. I know a few annual members at Cheltenham who have been told by Ian Renton and the likes, keep the faith, renew. We are hoping certainly by January things will, well, of course.
I wonder why he said that.
Phrase that he would say that.
But I think there was still some hope for November as well. We're coming back to Cheltenham. We saw a wash of crowd, didn't we? One of the worst optics that you could have had earlier in this year. Racing got hit with that rush, whether it's rugby got away with it, Anfield got away with it. You know, the football, it was racing. Cheltenham comes back. Should crowds now be allowed? We saw it earlier in this week, didn't we? I don't know if you're out there. At the Palladium, 4,500 for an evening with Arsene Wenger. In an old school, theatre. It was built hundreds of years ago, and yet they still can't go out onto a racecourse or any, even a football ground, for example. What's going on here, guys? So Bruce, come on and pick this up.
Well, I mean, it's quite simple, isn't it? There's a glaring anomaly here. If you're allowed to go to Royal Albert Hall or wherever else, and I think that you should be, that's absolutely fine. You have to be able to go to a football ground or a racecourse. You have to. If you can go to a pub or a restaurant, you have to be able to go to a racecourse. It's totally illogical. Oliver Dowden, who obviously runs the Department of Culture and Media, he's let the theatres go back, and apparently he is much more a man of the arts than a man of sport. Right. So he's looked after them. What's he doing? Look, I get when they're first imposed, when this so-called second wave started beginning again, the government had to take quick action, and racecourses, unfortunately, had to know their place, and they were the last ones. But right now, Dowden's had enough time to look at this and say, look, OK, they had that pilot at Warwick, that was fine. We've been reassured all along that what they're doing is safe. It's outdoors. We're going to put strict instructions in about movement and where you can go and being indoors and all that kind of thing and mixing. So I'm not saying it's perfectly safe and no one's going to catch COVID, but if you're able to go to a shopping centre or a restaurant or a pub or a concert or a theatre production, you have to be able to go racing. Come on.
Yeah, and there is 2 concerts planned at the O2 later this year, 4,500 again, and I think also the Albert Hall have managed to get their toe in as well. Just makes no sense whatsoever. Do you think that the jumps game, more than the flat, might suffer with no fans cheering out home these great horses that return year after year?
I think they're both.
Captain Boxing Day, can you picture it?
Well, yeah, it'd be a sad sight, wouldn't it, to be no fans?
You can't see the concrete for people, can you?
No. Well, both codes, I think, are going to, obviously feel the hit of it, and obviously, I generally agree with what Bruce says. I mean, if you can go to your local park and hang out down there, then what's the difference of going standing outside? Even if you closed all the inside areas and just said we'll have the stands open and a few places open outside, I don't really see as that should be a problem, and it makes absolutely no sense that you can go down to your local theatre and watch that. Yeah. The only thing that I can think of with sports as opposed to arts and stuff like that, although people still do the arts, is maybe the things that come before it and after it. Like if you go to a football match, I don't know, if I go to West Ham or whatever, I mean 9 times out of 10 I would meet up with my mates in the pub before we go to the game.
You can't do that. You'll have to go without that. That's fine.
So do you then say, well, you have to close all the pubs around the ground?
Well, I mean, the pubs have got restrictions in place, haven't they?
They're all 6 still keeps outdoors.
Exactly. And in London and Manchester and Liverpool, I think you can only mix indoors with people from your own household, which effectively renders them closed, really, doesn't it? So but we all accept. No one's expecting to go racing and have this like massive kind of beery, fantastic, raucous time. We all know it's going to be different. But
going back to that evening with Arsene Wenger, we're not. I've heard some politicians say we can't shout. I know a publican who said I can't have the TV on showing the football anymore because he said we're not allowed to shout at the TV. There was only one Arsene Wenger, and the other's in mask in sight, and yet it's been totally glossed over. Yeah. Something's got to change.
The funniest thing was it was my little boy's birthday the other day, and I said to him, did they all sing Happy Birthday to you? He said, no, we're not allowed to sing.
Oh, come on, that's absolutely
apparently
madness,
they can't sing in the school.
Look, to put a positive spin on it, the one great thing that racing has shown this year without spectators, it has put a serious show on the road, isn't it? And it's lifted spirits.
This flat season's coming to an end, but it has been a brilliant flat season. It's heartbreaking that we haven't been able to go and see it, but what a brilliant show racing's done. And I'm talking about from the race courses to the people who've organised the revised fixture list. but mostly to the professionals, to the staff, to the trainers, to the jockeys, the owners for their fantastic patience. You know, everyone's done fantastically well, and there's a lot of people suffering. These poor uncles, bookmakers haven't been allowed to trade. They haven't been able to make any money. I mean, it's so tough for them. But really, the show has been absolutely brilliant this year. I've really enjoyed this flat season.
Thank the Lord for the flat season being allowed. I mean, as we've said a few times on this show, back in April and March and May, we'd have bitten your hand off what we've got now. So let's enjoy what we've got this winter. Let's hope that our returning heroes over the timber come out and really put on a show, because this is going to be very, very important.
When do you think, though, Dave, when do you think we might get a crowd of, say, 10,000
I'm
back?
hoping
Would it
January.
be Cheltenham?
I'm hoping January.
Really?
I am, yeah. I'm hoping January.
I wouldn't be so...
I'd be buying
It's a
January.
price, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I've got, I think football are slightly hopeful for... I'm a season ticket holder at Watford, as you know, and there's been a couple of things that I've been told.
Social distancing at Watford's never been a problem.
From a Palace fan, he had to get that in. Listen, we wouldn't know. We're down below now, mate. We're looking up. I haven't got a clue. Okay. Let's hope that might have sparked a bit of debate out there. Let's have a little look. We're trying to keep the show on the road. So are the social comments. Let's get them up on the screen. Commander Von Rorik going for the Balmoral. It's home back in. I have Tempest in the last. Spoke to David Venusier yesterday. Who did he not wonderful night? He gave us Tempest. Mark Smith, welcome back. Tempest, Bell Rock, that's my big hope, and Kinran each way, the lovable Kinran. Okay, we've got any more on the screen? Oh yeah, Hugh Masson, welcome along. Ropey guess, Bruce, probably travel best and finish 15th. Funnily
enough, Hugh, I did just have a little friendly fiver each way on Ropey guests, because his form before he became a handicap, when he was like, the Colin Montgomery of racing, the best horse never to have won a race, was really, really good. And then he won, not that impressively, but we just don't know. And I've got a feeling he's got in off a quite a light weight here. Yeah. And so I've backed Ropey Guest at a big price. Yeah. He's one of my 3 bets.
I napped him on a feature show we did before it got cancelled. And I have to say, I don't know if I sparked a gamble, but I backed him in all sorts of different places at massive prices, just getting on what he could. And I was absolutely crushed when it got called off Ascot, the challenge meeting. The reason why I'm not putting him on top here is I do think this is quite a deeper race. But he has got great Ascot form. Check it out, not beaten far in the Jersey Stakes as well. Okay, let's see what Kills thinks about the final.
The closing race may be a handicap, but handicaps are my favourite races, and I really do like one in here called Njord for Jessica Harrington. He's been running in big field races in Ireland with lots and lots of credit, including beating in a photo twice at the Galway Festival. And he was 5th 2 starts ago in the Irish Cambridgeshire when he should have really have won. It wasn't his fault. The door just got closed in his face and he lost all momentum before running on again and finishing 5th. Somehow the handicappers managed to drop him £2 for that run, which absolutely amazed me. And while he got beat last time in listed company, that was a smaller field off a slow pace and he was just too keen early. So many of these big field handicappers struggle when they move up into class and run at a different tempo. But he's back in the 20 runner handicap now. He's drawn right next to the favourite Raik, who has to be feared because he's £5 well in. But I think Njord, with the booking of Tom Marquand, is going to run a really, really big race, and I cannot see him finishing out of the frame.
Yeah, so that experience last time, Kills thinks will put Njord right in the picture here. Interesting, they're coming over with this, isn't they? Right, Barry Orr, we've missed him thanks to technical glitch. Unfortunately, you've been missed. It's dulcet tones, but he is on a hat-trick of right results, Bruce, isn't he?
He certainly is.
Can I get you to put on his trade, please, if you don't mind?
Yeah, what is it?
It is alternative fact.
Okay.
Win and place back.
Fine.
So he's doing quite well today.
He's doing very well. So we'll go 25 each way, shall we?
Beautiful.
25 on the win at 19.5. That's done. And should we go 4 places or 5 or even 6?
What do you reckon, G? I know you like this horse,
I
don't
like
you?
the extra places. Yeah, I like this horse, yeah.
5 places?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. He's no, I'll tell you what, it's a bit illiquid, as they say, in the exchange game. So we'll go to 4 and we can get, what price can we get there? Hang on a sec. We can get 3.7. So let's do, I'm going to be a bit cheeky because we've got some time. I'm going to go up to 3.8 and I'm going to let £25 sit there and I'll keep an eye on it and hope it gets matched. But look, if I press that little keep bet button, what that means is that when the race goes off, that will still be in play. In actual fact, we've been done anyway. But that's a really important thing, that if you don't want your bet to run, don't hit the keep. But you tend to want to, and you've got more of a chance of getting it matched, haven't you? Because once the gates open, the market becomes a little bit more elastic, doesn't it? So, Shall I have a spin through where we are on the win odds, Dave?
Lovely.
Rake
Yep.
for Jim Crowley
This is a hot pot, isn't it?
4.5. And if we just click on his little graph there, you can just see what's happened to him recently. And look, the price goes from left to right, and so what you can see is that he's shortened regularly.
Is that just today's market?
No, that's ever since the market opened. So he's very, very solid. He's the one that punters will be using to get out of trouble or press up their winnings. Tempest is 8.6, 13 to 5 Belrock, but King Ottokar is actually now vying for third favouritism along with River Nymph. They're both 11 to 5. Njord kills his selection, he's 13.5, Belrock 13.5, and then there's a little bit of a gap to the others.
There's been quite a lot of love for Njord, isn't there? Looking at that, Tom Marquand going for a quick double, of course, on that. Drawn low, right next to Rake. You like Rake?
I do like Rake. I think we touched on it earlier. He fits the template of a horse that's massively progressive. Looks like he might have just been slung in. The handicapper probably can't do much more, and he's probably perfectly prepared to see this thing win well.
Yeah.
They don't always win, and there will be some people who would say you're absolutely mad to be backing a horse at 7 to 2 in a 20-runner handicap. But I just think that, I think if you ran this race 9 times, he'd probably win a couple. So I think if there can be value at the top of a market, can't there?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I think 5 to 1, a lot as he was at the start of the day, and he has been all week.
I would say this as well, though. Apart from Ropey Guest, I've loved ever since the run at Ascot, where Raising Sand easily won out of those 4 that stayed on the unfavourable ground. That run has stuck with me. He's got a lot of good form here on this sort of terrain. Yeah. Been non-runner last couple of times.
Bradley's having a great year, his ownership partnership. Hugh Taylor's got a leg in this.
I just get the impression that this is going to run a race, and if you can get some extra places, I think each way, I really, really do like Raising Sand.
If you said to Team Osborne and Bradley, what conditions could you have at the end of the year for Raising Sand in the Balmoral? This is pretty much it. And if you wanted to go along the topical treble, if you like, we've had Holly Doyle, big lovely spread in the mail, Tom Marquand, her partner, and Safi Osborne, great piece Marcus Armitage did in the Telegraph. She was an eventer. She won a Team Silver, and she wants to be a jockey. Apparently, it's very rare for anyone from the eventing to come into jockeyship, and she's really talented. I remember you put something up in the paper. Remind me the name of it. Was it? It won at Goodwood.
Yes.
That's where my radar came onto, because you put it up. You're really confident. I thought Safi Osborne claiming 7. Better have a look at this.
Yes.
She went on a bit of a run, didn't she?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the horse either, but
Johnson also
won very well. Yeah. No, she's very good, isn't she? And she claimed 7.
Oh, it was a Melbourne 10 horse, wasn't it?
Yes.
Oh, the name will come to us.
It was a horse that hadn't won forever.
It was an ex-Johnson horse, yeah.
She got a good tune.
It looked
out
like
of
a
him.
seconder, didn't it, basically?
Yeah. And
she's very talented.
Yeah, so she's got £7, and it's like we were saying earlier with the jockeys. Like, where does she stand in how good she is for 7? I mean, it would be great if we could just have some better idea of that. He's
an 8-year-old, and Safi's eloquent piece, this is quite interesting to learn about these horses. This is what you don't get really unless you know the connections and they tell you these sort of things. The reason why he lasted until 8, he's a big horse, apparently he's huge, and he carts you on the gallop. He doesn't like going around bends because he's so big. That's why they've kept him to these straight track races. So hence he absolutely loves Ascot. I'd love to see him go close. But what you were saying there, Bruce, this is a race where I've got Bell Rock on top. Why? Because every time he's run this season, he's been an eye catcher. Glorious Goodwood behind May Darnay, the leaders didn't come back. He then basically went to the Cambridgeshire. He was a huge eye catcher there in the Cambridgeshire. And I said to Keels yesterday, does he want further? And we sort of agreed he probably does, but he wants them to come back to him. Washington Murphy on. Washington could do with a winner. First time cheap piece, he's still 9. He's going to go close, I think. But there are so many others in this that I like. Ropey Guest is, as I mentioned, I like Alternative Facts. I backed him in the Hunt Cup or wherever it was he ran earlier on in the year, or the Buckingham Palace, wherever it was he ran in. And Prince E.G. as well is another one. He's a sneaky one for me, the Varian and Atzinis. They won this with Sharjah Bridge, do you remember, a couple of years ago? That was a bit more obvious. They'd always thought the world of this chap.
David Jennings is keen on this one.
He
as
loves
well.
Roseman as well, David Jennings, and he's got something about his colours, DJ. And Roseman, what a blind of that run. So Prince EJ, there was a gamble on this earlier, maybe because DJ put it up. What I don't like is King Ottokar. James Doyle's on. Winning form in this race has been quite a big one. If you look at Kevin Morley's excellent trends column, that borne out, I was able just to get rid of King Ottokar. He'll look like he's going to win at one point. I just think he'd forgotten how to win, basically. So this is a blinding Balmoral.
It's really good, isn't it? And there's so many angles, because of course we've got Holly Doyle as well on Solid Stone for Sir Michael Stout. I mean, that's amazing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A horse that hasn't quite hit the heights that they were expecting of it, the 4-year-old. 3-year-olds don't have a good record in this race, you know. I can't remember what it was. It's naught from something, and obviously the Fav is a 3-year-old. Ropey Guest is a 3-year-old. Let's have a look. What are they? Yeah, oh my God. It's bad reading, actually. 20 have tried since 2014. As when the handicap was invented. 5 only have placed. So, I don't know, it's interesting. Rake, how short can he get? Is what's the market saying? Because he's a pattern performer, isn't he, handicap?
He's 4.4. I think, as with a lot of these races, Dave, these markets have been here and active for a long, long time. And as you get to the final few minutes of them, sometimes you can get really, really lively late money. But for something like this, everyone's opinion is, but the die has been cast, the votes have been cast.
Yeah, and do you remember we said at Royal Ascot earlier in the year, there were no late gambles in the first half of the meeting because there's no one talking to each other on the track.
There's no on-course market, and I know that you know the off-course market is more influential these days, but it's still quite interesting.
It's something we've missed this year, isn't it? The late plunges. Remember, Nasida used to get on course and everyone would know all of a sudden what he'd laid out in the Hunt Cup or whatever and expect single figures. Okay, we've got some socials, I believe, coming up. Let's have a look. What we got? Nicholas Halbakowski. I think I got that right. Njord for me. Weighing in with Keels, not a bad thing at all. Neil Francis, good to see you, Neil. Bell Rock each way. Big hope for that. Watching them go down actually now looks all right. And Connor's aviation videos, Spaghetti, as Graeme famously said, Njord an alternative fact each way for me too. You do like alternative fact. I've spoken. He's been around quite a long time now, Dunlop Sauce, hasn't he? I remember having a conversation with you. He wants soft ground, doesn't he? He's got it here. Is this your top pick?
No, yeah, he absolutely must have soft ground. Having seen a Dave win, which I backed to beat Lord North early in the season on summer soft ground, as you call it, Dave, you just start to wonder if this winter soft ground might suit him better. But
yeah.
I just can't have him beating the favourite. I think the favourite will win. The problem is, as I say, we have sat here and got a feel for the day, and it's not really been a day for favourites, has it? It's been a day for the funny result.
You picked one out in the Balmoral. I did ask you pre-air what your nap was, and you said it comes in the last.
But this is my nap of the day. The win last time out at the course on soft ground, absolutely bolted up, going up to Mare. I think he'd really be suited by it. And we saw, was it Royal Ascot, when Jim Crowley was riding absolutely on the top of his game. He just was banging in these Hamdan Al Maktoum horses up the straight track.
Just hearing, guys, that Tempest is a non-runner breaking. So Tempest is a non. So really well fancied horse for Jason
Second
Watson
favourite.
And Roger Charlton. Yeah, Jason Watson enjoying something of a renaissance of a season. I think we can say that. After Great White Shark last week, I've seen him on the all-weather and other tracks this week. He's amazing what confidence does to a jockey. Any love for Keats in the market?
He's a non-runner as well.
Oh,
so
is
no.
he? Okay, there you go.
Do you think that that Keels is going to be right here or wrong on the draw? Are we on the wrong side? Bruce and I are going in together here on the Fav. Are we on the wrong side?
Far side, yeah.
Are we on the wrong side? Yeah.
Well, what we saw Sabasco was your point, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
suspect that the near side is where you probably want to be. But against that, I've also been defending Ascot for years and years and years. So there's no actual bias, it's more perception bias on the part of the jockeys. But with the stalls being over on the far side, are they going to come across to the near side? I think some will, because they'll have seen what Oisin did. I mean, where's he drawn? Oisin
what you
Murphy?
want is a front runner to tow you there, really, isn't it? And with Keats coming out now, who was in high, it's quite difficult to see pace on the stand side from
Dave,
what I can see.
Can we elaborate on this point?
Yes.
Why would you need to be towed? Why couldn't you just go out there on your own accord?
Largely because you have to make your own running.
So what?
Well, if you're on a horse, that's another thing to pick up on. And I've done this quite a few times. Sometimes you can say that was an ill-judged ride. A lot of the times these jockeys are riding to instructions. Like they're born down to it. If you're told to get a lead, okay, and you're thinking, but I know this, I've got to follow the leader. That's what I've been told to do. Unless something takes you over there, you're going to follow a leader because you want to get back on a horse with that track.
I don't know. I'm probably a bit harder on jockeys, unsurprisingly. I kind of think that you should have some sort of initiative about you. You
like we see in France a lot, they go different sides of the course.
You shouldn't just be, if the trainer says, "I'll go and hold it up." Well, if they go no pace,
you think you should do a Leicester and just go?
You should
I know
go
better than you, mate.
Well, I'm afraid they weren't going any pace. There's no point in me sitting in last. And if you come back in and tell the trainer that, and he gets the ump with you, then so be it. I mean, you've got to have a little bit about you. If you're
Most of these guys are tied down to instructions.
Are
apart
they,
from maybe
though?
They are.
Are they really,
are,
Dave?
yeah.
'Cause
I don't know about the top guys.
Writing about horse racing, I have had countless times agents or jockeys have said to me, look, you've basically butchered me here in an analysis. I'm riding to instructions. So Mark Prescott springs to mind. I think Mark will mind me saying this. They've got, it's like an essay.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But also, I think there is such a thing as a kind of vague set of instructions that the jockey can almost give the jockey the freedom to do what they want, but still allow the trainers to blame them if it goes
Remember
wrong.
we had
if you know
Ollie
what I mean.
Cole in the studio. What day was that? Was it? I can't remember what day it was. It was when Enable came back in the September Stakes, and we had a bit of time to chat, didn't we? And I said to him, "This year, with no crowd, have you been able to give a rollicking more than ever?" And he sort of wanted to go there, and he kind of said yes, but they do. One of the I'm going to take a leaf out of your book here. One of the things that really annoys me about what trainers say is when they come out and say, I don't tie the jockeys down to instructions. That's like a football manager coming out and saying, there was nothing wrong with that red card. You know, and then going in the dressing room and throwing the hairdryer.
Yeah, because
it just doesn't happen like
trainers'
that. Trainers'
first thing that you've got to remember, right? With the trainer, most of their runners get beat, don't they? Okay, so even if they've run pretty well, they've got to face a disappointed owner.
Yes,
and they've got to have a series of excuses here. And the top ones on the list are the trip, the ground, and the jockey. So, you know, they almost can't be too prescriptive with their instructions, because if there's a big Barney in the unsaddling enclosure, the jockey just says, "Well, this is what you told me to do."
But this is what gets me the most, really, is if you're an owner, right?
better get back in your brief mode.
If you're an owner, right, why do you need to be told a bunch of a bunch of excuses to why your horse didn't win? Why can't your trainer just come up to you and say, well, he's not that good, or he weren't good enough, or why can't
Because
they just be
he doesn't want
honest?
to see a horse box pull up next morning and the horse disappear and go somewhere else.
Well,
No,
there is that, and also
you'd
if
be
you
a
think about
fairly
these
shallow
syndicates
owner,
that are
though.
made up of people who are maybe new to horse racing, they don't understand it like we do. They want to be told. They want the debrief. Some owners I know will say to me, you know, that jockey gets off a horse, and I know everything. I know everything about why that horse performed like that. The one thing I was giggling when you were talking there, because the one thing that Ollie Cole said. Do you remember he said that? I had a jockey who I won't name, he said. It was at Sandown, and he came out, and the horse had disappointed. And he said, and the jockey came out and went, "You're useless." Yeah. And he thought, why are you saying that? It's like, so there's a contradiction. So the pressure is on, isn't it?
Yeah,
with everyone,
but then, if the horse isn't any good, right, then what, as an owner, I'd like to know that. And then I would respect my trainer more for the fact that he's told me this. Right, this is well, we won't persevere anymore.
But
Won't
what
throw
if
him
you
money
paid
down
40
the
grand
drain.
to the trainer for the horse? That's the trouble.
you've got to keep your horses in the
This
barn.
has happened to a few friends of mine. I remember a few years ago, a good mate of mine, he paid like 130,000 at the sales for a horse yearling, you know. And when it ran first time out at Newmarket, I texted him. I said, "Well, how's this going to go?" He said, "Oh, we're very hopeful. It's our Derby horse." I was like, "Oh, this sounds good." Yeah, the thing ended up being sold for 40,000, I think. So he made a loss of 90 grand on it, and ended up jumping with a jumps trainer. You know, so I mean, who in their right mind is telling him that the horse is a Derby horse? I mean, unless the trainer's completely useless, even the trainer must know that ain't a Derby horse. So why is he telling him it?
It's called managing expectations.
They do, absolutely. And expectations animals do not often meet. You know,
No, of course.
Listen, I've got a puppy at the moment. He hasn't met one yet. Let me tell you. So managing expectations, my puppy's.
But I just think, well, me personally, obviously I'm speaking from a personal perspective, I would just rather know. I'd rather him be honest with me. I much prefer it if people just come up and be straight honest with me.
We can't accuse you of not being honest. That's one thing, absolutely. So our point being, is a jockey going to take the initiative, go against instructions? That's theoretical. We're saying, and go for this stands rail. Now, just looking at the stalls here, guys. I mean, if you're high, who is actually in 23?
You don't have far to go. It's a really narrow track, isn't it? So in actual fact, they'll probably all come down near
Blue
side.
Mist with William Buick on and Roger Charlton. Now, Will Buick has taken the initiative in a few races, hasn't he? On the round course. Blue Mist you wouldn't really have down as a strong miler. So I'd be surprised if he did.
Okay, so the high-drawn horses. King Ottakar, 22.
Won't lead.
Blue Mist, 23.
Shouldn't lead.
Alternative Fat, 16, not bad.
Probably
Orban
won't lead.
in 20.
Was that in 20 Orban?
Yeah.
Probably not because it's an Omar and Tudhope horse.
Raising Sand 17,
Will Safi Osborne just go, hey, it's only Dad I've got to chat to after this, isn't it? You know?
Yes, interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Although he's probably a bigger critic than some others.
So where is the pace is the question. So I was looking through this. I'm thinking, is now Bell Rock going to lead? He's a horse that looks like he wants at least a mile. First time cheap pieces, Kudoshi Murphy. But that's stall 9, that means Central. When Raik won at the course last time, he just cracked on, didn't he, Crowley? He just went on, just best horse and keep going. And that, for me, I have to say, I think this, I'm not on this bandwagon. I feel like I should have covered Raik. But for some reason, I don't know why I didn't.
There's still time.
Something put me off. What price is he now then, Bruce?
He is now 4.1, so he's very solid, although some of that is the reaction to the second favourite coming out. Very popular River Nymph for Adam Kirby. We haven't mentioned him.
Yeah.
He's into 7-2.
Was due to run in the Challenge Stakes before he got called off, the same race as Ropey Guest. So he's now had an enforced 62-day break.
Njord is solid at 10.5. King Ottokar solid at 12. Not very popular, going right out to 16, is Bell Rock. Alternative Factors come into 13. He's really well supported. Blue Mist at 23. That's going to be due to the high draw. Solid Stone and Holly Doyle have come into 23. That's going to be to do with various bits like a little bit of Holly Doyle hype. But yeah, no, it's an interesting market, this one. But the favourite is very popular at 4.1. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, Dave, given how powerful he was here last time, that the plan will just be get out prominent.
Yeah,
and if you do think the better ground is over on the fast, just make your way gently across there. Give yourself 4 furlongs, get on the rail, and then crack on and go and win the race.
Escobar won last year, 21 of 20. Before that, Sharjah Bridge, 8 of 20. Far Side, Lord Glitters, 3 of 20. Lord Glitters with the 3-1 favourite in the race. He turned out to be a Group 1 winner.
But really, Dave, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we've talked about the stalls are on the far side. They're so wide and the track's so narrow that if you said they were on the near side, you'd be moving.
There's no room either side, is there?
There's no difference, is there?
So we were hoping, I think, that Keats would be in the race because I thought he would probably turn them along. And the other one who's a non as well, Bear. Where's the Bear?
Well, Tempest was in 6.
Yeah, so Tempest would have been up there, I think, as well. So listen, we're hoping for a solid pace here. We're hoping that your selection goes closer. If you play Bear Force 1 was the horse I was thinking about. He was a reserve that I thought might get into it as well. So there's a lack of pace here potentially. Bruce, are you going to take the mantle, or should we let Ade Rodway have another crack?
I think you should finish off in style, and I'll chip in.
Okay, mate.
But that has been a feature of the day on the straight course, is a lack of pace. They haven't gone very fast in many of these races.
In the sprint race, yeah. Glenn Shield made just about all.
That might change here, we'll see.
Was it a May called Glenn Shield? Probably was.
It wasn't far off, was it?
Okay, they're all in. Final race of the day here on RP Live. It is the Balmoral.
And they are off and running, and let's see where the favourite is. He's come out very prominent over on the far side. The action down the near side, we've got River Nymph, nice and prominent, and also well up there is Kinran indeed, and we've got number 7, Bell Rock is actually the one. They're all coming down the centre, Dave. No one wants this far side, no one wants the stand side rail. The favourite has jumped out in front and leads from Greenside in second.
I'd be happy with the favourite now, Bruce. Is the market agreeing with me?
2.88, yes indeed. That woman Holly Doyle is prominent in third. Bell Rock's going really nicely down the centre. They have kind of split into 2 groups. There's a centre group and a far side group. It's amazing that no one's come near, isn't it?
Fascinating to see what Bell Rock finds.
What's the pace like, G-Rod?
Slow.
Yeah, again, if you're out the back, I think you're out with the washing already.
Well, let's have a look. So Njord's making a bit of a forward move, but the favourite is in front. The favourite's 3.4, so it's certainly not a done deal. Holly is really, really prominent there on Solid Stone, and also right out there is Prince Aijai. Now push comes to shove for the favourite with 3 to go, going really nicely, but being hectored on his left by Solid Stone. Prince Aijai is trying to get to them. The action is down the far side.
Yeah.
It's still the favourite. It's still Raik. But I tell you what, Holly's not too far away. And here comes Njord for Keels. Here comes Njord down the near side. Njord has swept through to the front. It's Njord. But Holly Doyle will not give up.
This is over, guys.
Holly Doyle will not give up on Solid Stone, but she may as well now, because here goes Njord. Well done, Keels. Great shout. Njord streaks to victory. Is going to win by 3 lengths. Holly Doyle's had 2 winners in 2 seconds. Absolutely sensational. The favourite drifts to about 7th. So if you've backed that each way, you might need a bit of help on the extra places. But no doubt about the win. Tom Marquand wins. He beats his girlfriend. Sorry, I better be careful how I say that. But 2 wins for Tom Marquand, 2 for Holly Doyle. Absolutely fantastic. They are the golden couple, and well done. Racing salutes you. You're fantastic.
Neil Hubbard has beaten you to that saying, and Ross Bridie could not compose himself afterwards, so do not worry about that. But you're quite right. Tom Marquand takes out the last 2 races. Well done, Keels. Absolutely mad keen on it he was yesterday. No one came stand side, and I'm pretty sure, guys, that was because of a lack of an obvious front runner wanting to take their chances. And if you were high, you've got to forgive a run there if you are high.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because they went slow, and even the finish was slow.
Yeah, they did. And
it just makes you think that it's just very slow ground if they're going that slow.
Yeah, there were a couple of interesting runs in there. And River Nymph has run well. I tell you what, who's run well, finally run well, is Graeme, or Grain, or whatever it's called. It's called Grain, or Grainia. For George Baker, they paid 600 grand for this horse. They ran him into a group race. He's running on into 4th here, guys. Watch out for him in your Hunt Cups next year. Victoria Cups, Hunt Cups, they're all the races they'll target for. And George Baker knows how to get them in the bag. Be encouraged with that. But this was a target race. Jesse Harrington, Irish take out the final race. And Bruce, you called it mid-race. He made that sweeping move. He just kept going. I backed him last time, you know what. And I think Kills has absolutely nailed this. I was a bit disappointed with him, but Kills has seen something there. We forgive a horse. He was favourite last time he ran. The pace of that race, that experience that they talk about. Spoke to Adam Ryan, Kevin's son in the week about Bielsa and a couple of his sprinters. Talked about Hello Youmzane being retired, and he said, we're really happy with Bielsa. He hasn't won this year, but he's got that experience of those top-level sprints. They're keen for him next year. So look, it all counts as big race field form. Kevin Morley always bangs on about it in his trends. Solid Stone second, then Green side, wow, the evergreen.
You're talking 4, 7, 2, 10, and then 5, I think, for your draw. So you needed to be on the far side there.
Yeah, and interestingly, Oisin Murphy, despite the fact he was in 9, he explored that mid-route, didn't he, on Bell Rock, who probably doesn't want to lead. It's back to the drawing board with that. Raik, let's talk about him. Debrief.
Well, yeah, I mean, no excuses if you're on the favourite, because he's made all the running on the far side and appeared to be in a perfect position. But, I mean, we just said, didn't we? No, trainers coming up with excuses. Well, I don't see any obvious ones there for Raik, but there probably will be one.
Maybe. It looked like perhaps he gave up the ghost a bit too easily for me. It looked, maybe, could it have come a bit quick after Ascot? I don't know. 15 days ago, maybe he's one run too many this year. We are approaching that time now when horses do go over the top, of course.
I'll tell you, did have a few problems getting a run. His good old Ropey there in the white and the blue. He had to be switched to come in behind the leader. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's never going to beat the winner, but he just had a few traffic problems. It was a pretty clean race, all told, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, looking back for the also rans, Blue Mist, absolutely, I think he's finished last, and he Raising Sand. Oh, they'll be thinking about retirement for him probably now. Did he want a stronger gallop, G, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he's been beaten fair and square. I mean, Greenside's a pretty good marker, isn't he, for the form?
The 9-year-old Greenside.
He always runs a decent race there on soft ground.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the winner's head and shoulders, really, isn't he, Njord? I mean, just in a different class.
Yeah, he's had a lot of runs this season as well, which is quite interesting. He would have gone closer in the Irish Cambridgeshire with any sort of luck in the run.
If you've done a Holly each way multiple today, which people have, you've had an 11-1 winner, a 16-1 second, and 2 places at really good prices. That's come to dough, that really has. It's a brilliant day for her, isn't it?
Yes.
And what a great couple, and 2 lovely people, fantastic ambassadors for the sport. And, you know, this is a really, really lovely feel-good story for this. I mean, they're lovely people. They're brilliant with interviews. They're brilliant with us in the media. And they deserve everything that's come their way.
She was 50-1 for Spotty before this, Sports Personality of the Year.
It's not.
I mean, look, of course it's not, but her odds will have come down now, surely, because she's in the public eye.
I don't know. I mean, but who's going to? Is it being? I couldn't tell you. I mean, I wouldn't have a
favourite? Yeah,
Lewis Hamilton. I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Tyson Fury.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
good old Tyson.
It's really great for them.
St.
I think
Ledger
that's
also
lovely. I'm absolutely buzzing for those 2.
Absolutely. David Manuzio, a word for him. First domestic Group 1. Hopefully he'll now get some better stock. Serious trainer in form. And we were looking at some of his stats this week. The Sandown, Goodwin, Newmark. 30% strike rate since he started training. She's a serious filly for next year as well, isn't she?
Yeah, she looks very
really
good.
Is. Yeah.
She's going to stay further as well, isn't she?
Okay.
She looks all about stamina.
Yeah, absolutely. Could she be a couples?
Don't know. Maybe she will get that far. Park Hill.
They can be ambitious with her now because she's got those 2 Group 1s. David said leading into the Art Weekend, had she been a Group 1 winner, she would have gone for the Art Bruise. Millington said probably would have gone close in that race. Now they could be really ambitious.
Do you think they'll need to wait for soft ground for her, though?
She's not going to get the 3-year-old allowance anymore next year as well. That's always something that levels.
She does
up
get
a
the
bit.
fillies, though.
The great ones can do it. Dara and me, do you remember all them? The great fillies that hold their form can do it.
Been an intriguing day, hasn't it, Dave?
Really?
I mean, you've done well to make money today. I know Keels will have done. That's fantastic
he's
for
knocked
him.
it out the park,
We've had an
hasn't he?
Irish winner, we've had a French winner, we've had a female winner, we've had a first-time Group 1 for a jockey.
Yeah.
I think we've had a first-time Group 1 for Archie Watson as well.
We have. We're not underwhelmed at all, are we?
Not at all,
Yeah,
not
at all.
remotely. Alan King's a great trainer.
Yes.
He's come out and had a winner.
Royal
I think
Ascot
it's
winner
been
for him as well, wasn't it?
Haggis and a day, but really, really good. You know, I think it's been excellent.
Let's talk about
Manuzia
some
with his first
also
one.
rans. What do we do now with Palace Pier?
I
Just
don't-
put him back. Will we see him again?
Yeah, I think he'll be back next year, won't he? But he's had his bubble burst a little bit there, hasn't he? Is he as good as we thought he was?
A lot will be talked about that ride.
Don't forget the fact. Yes, and that's probably a valid excuse. But don't forget as well, we have only seen him 3 times this year for a reason. He is a bit fragile, so perhaps something's come to light.
Yeah.
But I would suspect that's more to blame on the fact that he had a hell of a lot to do.
Do you think Magical will go to Breeders' Cup now?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. Why
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
Absolutely. This will be her last year, surely, won't it?
I would say so, and
Yeah.
and she's got nothing. Her performance and the value of her progeny can't go down if she gets chinned in America.
Yeah,
But it would be nice for her to go there and run
And
well.
she's just the sort of horse who will go and win that race.
She ran well today. She ran okay
And
today.
Stradivarius, toss of a coin, do you think will be now maybe a U-turn?
Who knows? Who knows? It was a bad run, but against that, they might say, look, this does prove that he doesn't want soft ground.
Yeah.
And I know that Exhibit A against that is the Ascot Gold Cup win, but that was just a funny race. It might just be that none of them wanted that ground and that he's just bolted up in a field of horses that absolutely hated it.
Considering what it was, Champions Day, I think, played up. And, again, go back to April, March, May, we'd have absolutely bitten your hand off for this.
And well done to Barry as well for his all of his great wins.
Yeah,
Yes, he's
Alternative
done well.
Fact ran well, actually, and that didn't quite get there, did it? But I don't think it did. But, Barry, we will have you back. We missed Barry all today. He was there for a little bit. I asked him for a charity. Perhaps he'll email in where the charity money's going because he is up. It's been great to have you out there as well. Let's wrap up some social comments because they are coming in, I believe. Let's have a look. If the guys can magic them up on the screen. I'm going to try not to squint. It is coming. I can promise you that. And we'll...
Let's hope a few people have managed to back some winners. We want
Yeah,
to hear
absolutely.
from people if they have won.
I didn't want to bring Brando up again.
Oh, that's
the
all right.
one
I'm
that got
over that.
away.
I'm over that.
You're
I'm
over
over
that.
that.
Okay.
These things happen.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the socials are somewhere on the line. They're not working. Okay, it's been a couple of grounders, but whatever. Listen, we have had some great socials. Jockeys 1, 2, 3. Does Tom Marquand finally now come into your 3?
Holly Doyle does too,
Holly
don't
Doyle
she?
does.
It'd be Tom Marquand, Holly Doyle, Tom Marquand.
You might need to expand that 3 a little bit. Well, gents, it's been great to have you in. Bruce, thanks for your input. Graeme, Rodway, entertaining and as controversial as ever. You two are going to pair up in the old dock, I think, next time we see you. It's been great to have you. Thanks to all the boys in the gallery, Elliot, Dan and Rob as well. We'll be back next week for the Vertem and Cheltenham.